15 yards apiece that were committed by KU, and we're still looking for a replay of one of them.
God.
So we are still that's what I mean by it was one of the more interesting broadcasts because there was something to talk about constantly. It wasn't boring. It was frustrating. There was no flow to it. It was so choppy. And then there were big plays, but I mean, people were talking. There was something to discuss during the game. I don't know that that's what ESPN was going for. I don't know that's what the ACC officiating crew was going for, but that's what happened. And it's difficult to sort of describe my watching experience last night while also, watching the All-22 from the Chiefs and Raiders game. But my watching experience of a game that had so many highlights and so much fun watching the offensive sort of open it up while also watching a ref show and watching a broadcast that I'm just going, this is the main ESPN? Like that felt like a non-con ESPN Plus game, first game of the year when it's like a lot of people are in preseason mode. There's a lot of people that are going through some exhibition mode, right? Not mid-season form for these guys. Like, how many plays were missed because we were watching a replay of the previous play? And yet, unsportsmanlike conduct and personal foul penalties, nary a replay. Like, not a one. I mean, it was rough while also being entertaining. Explain that to me, because I don't know how to do it.
I think there are lots of ways you can explain it, but I think my favorite way to explain it is that the referee needed halftime to turn his mic on. We didn't hear that man's voice from the second penalty of the first quarter until he came out and made a halftime adjustment. He turned his damn microphone on.
I forgot to mention that too. I forgot to write that one down.
It's forgivable because there are 15 things about that game that are like, man, this is physically kind of hard to watch. And then you get to the point where, we are in a hellscape where seriously, I'm sure that statistically speaking, somewhere in the history of college football, there's been some example of this, but I can't remember one. So I'm going to say definitively, the most ref-centric half of football I've ever seen. And I watch the NFL every week. But the unexplained personal fouls left and right and left and right again. And we never heard any sort of, one, explanation from the referee, two, any particular curiosity about it from the broadcast crew, three, any replays of what it might have been.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
How do you got 3 strikes on 1 foul?
The total number of penalties on the season now for KU after last night is 73. They've committed 73 penalties, which means that the 18 last night make up 25% of all of the penalties that they have committed the entire season. That's how bad that was. And I understand Lance Leipold's frustration because it's like, I mean, we don't commit penalties. Like, we're a pretty disciplined team. Like, we have, we're second fewest in the Big 12, the 14th fewest penalties in the nation, and yet there's 18 penalties for 216 yards. I love this from Lance Leipold at halftime. You heard it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB if you were out and about in your car or whatever. And Lance Leipold going into halftime with the interview that takes place in the KU Jayhawk radio network. Here's how that sounded in the frustration from Lance Leipold.
Good first half for the offense and defense. With the penalties, how do you get better in the second half?
I don't know if we can get a new crew or not in time. I tell you what, we have no rhythm in this thing, no whatsoever. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what to tell my team right now.
Thanks, Coach.
I don't know if we can get a new crew in time. I don't know if we have enough time. Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Depot, I'm not sure. Do we have enough time for a new officiating crew to come in here and fix this thing? It was so fascinating on so many different levels, man. I mean, that really felt like an exhibition type game. Like, that was a preseason game in football where you're like, oh, there's some things to take away. And all of that then is surrounded by, and it's unfortunate because, we start with that from the hilarity of the whole thing. And it takes away from the fact that, Lance Leipold in year 3 has 9 wins for KU. Their first bowl win since 2008. I mean, 2008. The last time they had a bowl win, I know they played in one last year, and Jason Bean able to redeem himself from the 2-point conversion play and whatever took place on that to, is he going to transfer 2 years ago? Is he going to come back? Is he going to be a backup? Is he going to go somewhere? And then filling in for Jalen Daniels again and going out there and having a game where he goes 12 of 17, 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh, wait, that was the first half. Sorry. I was looking at his first half numbers. 450 yards and 6 touchdowns in the game. 6 touchdowns in the game. Did you see the crazy stat of he's the first quarterback since?
Man, you took both of my learns already. We're already down both of my learns. It's the first segment still. No, rip it. I'll find another one. It's okay. These are both on my list. I want to make sure we got them. I don't know.
Does Dylan know?
Dylan, do you know the new Jason
first
Bean
quarterback
stat?
Since?
He's the first FBS quarterback to throw for 425 or more yards and 6 or more touchdowns in his final collegiate game since?
I don't know either of them.
Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
Future Chiefs legend
right.
Jason Bean.
Who should trade up to number 10, somebody, and go get this guy, number 10. I mean, people are looking for the next Patrick Mahomes. What's more the next Patrick Mahomes than he's the first one to do it since Patrick Mahomes? I mean, come on. I mean, that's it. It's phenomenal. And there were so many great plays that were made. Again, we're talking about the wide receivers mossing people and everything that took place in that game. Like it was a phenomenal offensive performance. It was an entertaining game that had drama with both teams. UNLV taking a lead, KU taking complete control, Bean throwing a couple of YOLO throws, and then UNLV, getting momentum and coming back, and then KU going, all right, son, let's put an end to this whole thing. Cool, you landed a couple of punches, but let's get back into what the real matchup looks like, and then just taking control there. It was so much fun and so much stuff to talk about. And congratulations to KU and Lance Leipold and Jason Bean going out on a game in which he can be remembered for this and stepping in and filling in for Jalen Daniels and really being the starting quarterback. I mean, filling in for Jalen Daniels. I mean, he was simply the starting quarterback this year and helping KU get to 9 wins. And I'm glad he didn't transfer because someone who we've talked about is maybe the second best quarterback since Todd Reesing, with Jalen Daniels being awesome and Jason Bean being pretty damn good, that the memory of Jason Bean would be a weird, odd throw on a 2-point conversion and just something I don't think I've ever seen. Like, it was almost like a glitch in the matrix of what happened last year on the 2-point conversion to then ending with this of having 6 touchdowns and 450 yards in the game.
In this case, it was like he was Neo. Instead of a glitch in the Matrix, he was just doing everything you'd want. And I think I talked about this with Braden last week, and you talked about it with him yesterday, and something doesn't land quite right with me with the idea of just sort of writing bowl games off as basically preseason games or spring games or whatever. And I have a weird relationship with college football because, like, my parents were Wichita Staters, and so I don't have the vitriolic love for my team and hate for another and all of that comes with a lot of the rivalries.
You love Jamie Bluma the way that local teams love their college football team, local fans. That
is exactly right.
I knew it.
But in this game, this is why I can't go. It's like a preseason game, because this is the cap for Jason Bean's legacy at Kansas now. Like, when you think about Jason Bean, mercifully for him, it's not going to be that 2-point conversion in the way that bowl sort of crumbled around at the end last year. It's going to be this game. It's going to be 6 touchdowns. It's going to be playing some crazy YOLO ball and letting it rip on a level that I don't know that we see ever in modern football, really, like at any level. His intended air yards on some of those shots were incredible. But, like, this game is meaningful for the team. It's meaningful for Bean. It's meaningful for Devin Neal. It's meaningful for Kansas fans, not just the ones who traveled out there and decided to make it meaningful, but as it caps off a 9-win season. And as you get, like you said, the first bowl game win in, let me think about it real quick, probably as long as, there's at least a few students at KU now, right? Maybe you get one real young kid that got through some advanced classes who might not have been born. It's probably a little kind of tight. But
it'd be a 15-year-old.
It's a real,
it's
a real you know what? KU is working on recruiting kids who were not born when they won their last bowl game. And I think is actually true, without having to exaggerate it. That
I'll give you
$100.
I'll give you $100 if you could tell me who Doogie Howser's best friend, what his name was.
Sorry,
No, you can't. You can't type it up.
Is it sports or leisure rules?
Yeah, just Doogie Howser's best friend. What his name was.
It's Vinny, obviously.
You think?
Vincent Salvatore Delfino.
I just said you can't.
Vinny!
Look it up.
You know when he and Doogie were 6 years old, Doogie turned to Vinny and said, "Hey, Vinny, I want to be a doctor." Who couldn't remember that moment?
Oh yeah, that's
You can
everybody else.
You can
Hey, yo, dog.
You can Venmo me if you want.
I'm not going to do that. I said no Googling. I heard the tapping away, tap. Give it a little tappity, little taparoo.
Vinny.
Vinny. Hey, yo, dog. Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
Nah, just I had a legitimate blast watching this football game, and I am glad that it's going to be the lasting memory for Kansas fans of this season because it's a more fitting, deserving send-off for Jason Bean than he was going to get last year or at any other point without a game like this to end his KU career. I thought it was great. I had a legit great time.
Give you another $100 if you can tell me who Kirk Cameron's best friend, what his name was on Growing Pains.
James, his brother. James Cameron.
No, it was Boner.
I wouldn't have said that even $400.
I know.
Wasn't worth a cut.
But that was his nickname.
His what name?
Boner. His nickname.
Nickname, you said. Okay.
That's what I said. It's his nickname.
That one might have been the tie line's fault, but either way.
That was his nickname. Yes. A lot of boneheaded things last night from the officials is what I would say from last night to have a terrible segue.
Stewie Griffin joining the show.
Yeah, sorry about that. 913-912-4810. So K-State in action tomorrow night. We'll see what they can do. And Mizzou in action on Friday. I'm with you on the overall meaning of bowl games is like, I do find them to be meaningless in trying to compare conferences. I think that's dumb.
Totally, sure.
I've felt that for a long time. But I think it means something to the program, to the fan bases, and certainly to the players. Like Jason Bean, that meant a lot. Grimm and Arnold and Skinner and guys out there playing. Devin Neal, even though, it announces and the news breaks that he's returning to KU next year, and that's awesome. But even for him, a big game and that matters to nine. I mean, it's just 8-5 or 9-4. It's only one win, but it just feels different in saying that 8-5, 9-4, a 9-win season. My simple math tells me you're one game away from having a double-digit win season when you're sitting at 9-4, which shows that it's possible at KU. Yep. And it shows the growth of KU from 2 to 6 to then 9 to go to back-to-back bowl games to almost win one last year to get it done this year in last night's game, to have the performances that they do, to build off of that heading in to the offseason, to know that Lance Leipold, has things heading in the right direction. It means something. They go out there and get, their doors blown off by UNLV. Like 8-5, yeah, it was a good year, absolutely. 8 wins is awesome. Well done. But a little bit of an odd, sour taste in your mouth. And I'll draw a comparison to Mizzou basketball that, at the beginning of the season last year, it's like, man, just can they even compete for a tournament spot? Can they just find a way to get into, the NCAA tournament? Can they be a bubble team? I mean, give me that, right? Just have that sort of fun throughout the year to be able to be at least in the conversation a little bit. And then they do, and they win their first round game, and it's like they won a freaking tournament game. It's been so long, not only getting to the tournament, but they won a game. Look how awesome this is. And then they lost to Princeton, and it was like, man, such a sour taste in the mouth. Mm-hmm. If you would have told me before the season that Missouri was not only going to make the tournament, but win a game in the tournament, like, hell yeah, what a fun season that's going to be. Then they lose to 15-seed Princeton, you're like, well, that sucks. What a thud of an ending, man. Just, it was odd to try to sort of wrap your mind around that. And it's different with the NCAA tournament. I get it, understandable, as opposed to a bowl game. But I do think there's a significance to going out and winning that game. I think there will be a significance tomorrow night for K-State to go out and beat NC State. And obviously a significance in the Cotton Bowl for Mizzou over Ohio State. And the significance would be that it really feels like on Friday night, because I think NC State and K-State both are, approaching it the same way. The feel on Friday night is like You know, it's all hands on deck. Is that the motto that Eli's been using this bowl season for the Missouri Tigers? And so many players playing, Rakestraw and Hopper not playing with injury, but so many guys playing, none of the opt-outs, all of that stuff. And sort of an all hands on deck versus a Ohio State. Oh, let's see what these backups look like. Let's see what the guys next year, what will they be looking like in this game against Mizzou, where it's, you know, tickets selling out, people going down to the Cotton Bowl, Mizzou fans in attendance. It would mean a lot if they win. It would also be pretty disappointing if they were to lose because of one side that feels like it's putting a lot into this particular game and this particular matchup. So there is that meaning that goes along with it. But happy for Lance Leipold. KU got the win. Jason Bean was dynamite last night, and the referees were just as good as Jason Bean was. The referees were as bad in last night's game.
Both were
the
chaotic. Both were chaotic. I mean, there was chaos from all four teams last night.
That is right. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, and I want to get into some Chiefs talk. Watching the All-22, some other national analysts' opinion, and they're looking at film study, and also Travis Kelce, New Heights, that dropped this morning. Travis Kelce has commentary on what took place, where they're at right now. We'll hear that as well. We'll talk with Cynthia Freeland at 11 o'clock. Field Yates coming up in the noon hour. We'll hear from the Chiefs about 11:45 or so, 11:50. Mick Schaefer at 1 o'clock. That's how the show lines up. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Cynthia Freeland coming up at 11 o'clock. Field Yates comes up in the noon hour. Mick Schaefer at 1 o'clock. We'll also hear from the Chiefs today. 11:45, 11:50 round there. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll see who else is at the podium. Last few weeks has been Chris Jones. We'll find out when or if anybody will be there. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Obviously, yesterday's show dominated by the Chiefs and the struggles on Monday, Christmas Day, against the Raiders. The New Heights podcast dropping this morning at 8:30. Here is this is an extended clip of Travis Kelce talking about the frustrations, talking about the loss to the Raiders and what took place in that game and just how they're playing right now.
Chiefs 14, Raiders 20.
Yeah, man, that was embarrassing.
Not a Merry Christmas in Arrowhead. What do you got? What are your first thoughts?
I mean, we handed that team a win on Christmas. We literally played Santa and gave them a present.
I mean, I'd be hard pressed to disagree with you, but let's.
All I got for you is that that was embarrassing. Everybody in the building knows how embarrassing that was, and that we got a short week, so we're gonna forget about this real quick.
There you go. What do you think it is about the Raiders with the slow starts?
I don't know.
They're a good defense.
Just can't catch a rhythm, and it's not just the Raiders. It's been a lot of teams that we've played, just trying to catch a rhythm and catch stride, knowing that we got guys that we can win with, and it's just a frustrating experience right now, and every single day we're going in here fixing it. I promise you guys, and it's not just one guy. It's not just me playing like dog. It's not just us not being able to get the run game going. It's not just us not being on the same page passing wise. It's everybody's in this thing together. Everybody at some point isn't being accountable, and we all just got to bring it together, man, and put it together. And I think we're taking a lot of learning shots, and unfortunately we've lost a lot of those games. In years past, we've won those games, found a way to win at the end. Special teams, same thing. It's really just our defense that's keeping us in games. We were really, banking on the defense giving us one last drive, but we played so trash as an offense that we put the defense in a really, really tough spot there at the end of the game. And it was one play can just, seal it. And that's what happened there in the fourth quarter. And it's frustrating when you got the guys and you got everybody that you need, and just things just aren't going your way, man.
Is there anything more deflating than a defensive touchdown too? Like we had one in our game, and obviously the two you guys had.
There's one thing more deflating than a defensive touchdown, and that's back-to-back defensive touchdowns.
That's fair. That adds up.
And that will make you pretty frustrating. I can only imagine, and that makes you frustrating as an offensive player, as a defensive player.
Like, dude, what's happening?
You pride yourself on keeping points off the board, and we gifted them 14.
That's an interesting point about the offense is frustrating or frustrated over that. How frustrating must it be for the defense? That's like, they look up and see the final score and the points for the opposition sort of is connected to the defense, which we know is not true. There were 8 points that were connected to the defense, really 6, but the 2-point conversion counts. The defense was out there. So 8 points that were scored against the defense, not the, 20 that we saw ended up happening in the game, but that's how it goes. It's like, well, defense, how many points, per game? Well, they gave up 20 to the Raiders. No, they didn't. So I can understand that frustration. No rhythm. Just got to get things going. Just, the guys are in here. We know it. And they're mad and they're frustrated. And things are happening on the sideline. And Patrick Mahomes is frustrated and Travis Kelce's frustrated. And Kelce's saying he's not playing his best ball. And Andy Reid just wanted to get the best out of him. And he didn't respond the way that he should have responded and didn't go out there and play his best football, which I thought was interesting when he's saying that, he throws his helmet down that was before half. And then says he didn't go out there and play his best ball after that, that he's just got to figure it out and get some things together. Okay. I mean, it's not that they're running out of time. It feels like they're out of time right now. Like, this is who they are. Like, I know that it must be frustrating, Josh, for an offense that goes and does whatever they want to do. And throughout the years, Kelsey and Mahomes, they're putting up 30 points and they can go and get hot and just do anything they want on a football field. It looks like they can't be stopped. So it must be frustrating to be in this position this year. But there's a part of it that's almost like, on one side of the coin, you have to still believe that you can fix some things, that you've got everybody in-house to be able to do that. And on the other side of the coin is you're fooling yourself if you think it's just going to be able to turn around and a couple of things here or there is going to get this thing done. I mean, watching the All-22, the most evident thing last night from Monday's game was how many people had problems in the game offensively that killed drives and killed plays. One player here, one player there, one player on this one player on that one. Wasn't the same person. Number 87 was a part of it. Number 15 was a part of it. Number 74 and 62 and 52 and 65 and what's Wanya Morris? 63?
67? That's Lucas Niang, isn't it?
Yeah, Morris, whatever Morris is. And I'll just go through all of the numbers of people that played. It wasn't just one person that was like, we spend so much time talking about the wide receivers, but the offensive line has regressed. Wanya Morris was a big problem in that game. And as much as it's like, hey, I want to see Wanya Morris. He looked pretty good. He got totally exposed in that game. Jawan Taylor has regressed, and there's no defending how he's playing. Even if, a few weeks ago it was like, all right, he might be committing some penalties, but he's playing some pretty good right tackle. Pass protection has been on point for him. Well, it's not anymore because they're also chipping, and he's not doing his job. Like, keeping guys in so often to chip or double team, or the running back having to stay in the pocket to help out in pass protection and not get out on a route. When you're chipping both tackles, that's two guys late to get into a route on the offense. You're already starting behind the eight ball. Like, they've got problems on this team that it's not just, well, if you cut out the penalties or don't turn the ball over. Yeah, okay. And then what happens when an offensive lineman has a breakdown? Well, what happens if the wide receiver doesn't run the right route? What happens if Mahomes double clutches and doesn't have the same conviction just to fire it to this particular person, whoever it might be? What happens if one person misses a block that could have busted open a run? There were back-to-back runs in watching the All-22, and it was the possession in which they ended up turning it over on downs when it was the throw down the field to Rashee Rice, and it was a pass interference, but it was also called pass interference on Travis Kelce, and so they turned the ball over. It was that same drive. It was the 3rd and 1 play in which they got stopped, and then Andy Reid came out and challenged them on 4th and 1. We're going for it. Like, that one play was blocked so well and schemed up so well that Max Crosby on the left side of the offensive line, the right side of the defensive line, got sucked inside. He got sealed. The corner, the linebacker that was on the outside, was running straight to Mahomes in case there was a fake and a play action there. And Isaiah Pacheco was sliding down the offensive line to cut left off of Wanya Morris's left shoulder. And that thing was going to bust wide open. The problem was Trey Smith was on his back. He just got blown up back into Isaiah Pacheco, who then had to stop. And when he stopped and hesitated, the guy who was heading to Mahomes had time to then reroute and go catch Isaiah Pacheco. 2 or 3 plays later, there's a hole on the right side that's so well blocked. Travis Kelce is coming over to lay a block, and Spillane is the guy he's supposed to block. He overruns him. And then he looks back at Spillane and it's like, well, I can't get there, so I'm just going to take the next guy. He takes the safety. Spillane makes the block. If Kelce gets there and makes that block on the linebacker, that thing busts wide open. Like, those are 2 plays, different guys on a block that it's like, well, they can't run the ball. They can't do it. Yeah, because if one guy on offense gets blown up, it's hard to run the ball, because even when it was schemed up that way and the other guys were doing their job, one person that helps you get to the next level, it did not work out. And those are just 2 plays, Josh, of an entire game of that. That's the concern with 2 games left. This ain't just well, Mahomes and the receivers get on the same page. This thing's going to take off.
I don't think we've been bad at this, but I think in general, maybe Chiefs Twitter may have gotten beyond the point of no return on this one. It wouldn't do Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce any good to either publicly or privately say, we don't have the dogs for this. Like, we just do not have the people. Because you got to play 2 more regular season games, and I still believe at least 1 playoff game. You still got to play those to get paid to do your job. And frankly, I still believe that, Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes want to be playing football. I think most of the guys on the team with him do too. But I also would imagine that in a quiet moment, they wonder how true that is. They have to believe it because there's no trade deadline to try to sneak under the wire of anymore. These are the guys they have. But when Travis Kelce starts going through the list in that clip, and he says, as you kind of went through, offense can't catch a rhythm. It's not just one guy. It's this guy here and this guy here and this guy here. It's not just that we're not on the same page passing wise. It's not just that we're not being accountable to each other. It's not just these back-breaking moments. It's not just anything, and he's right. But that's the problem. If it was just the rookie left tackle, just to pick on Wanya Morris, number 64, by the way.
There you go.
Not to pick on him because he got baptized by Max Crosby in his
he got
third
picked on
start
enough
or whatever.
on Monday.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But that's for a rookie, and Nate Taylor said that Wanya talked in the locker room, which is something that a lot of Chiefs offensive players have not done after games. Yeah. And Nate said Wanya knew it. Like he knew, he's like, I just got to be better. Like that matchup was a lose for Kansas City, and that you just have to kind of eat it. And it sounds like he did, and I certainly respect that. But it's not just, oh, well, man, if Donovan Smith gets healthy or if Wanya Morris can get a little bit better by the playoffs or if they can figure out how to help him. If that, so what? If that, then you've still got to figure out, is anybody getting open? When MVS gets open, is Patrick Mahomes ever going to throw the football to him ever again? And the answer is no. The answer is definitely at this point no. Will that change? I'm not sure. Did he throw to Justin Watson after the interception? He may have had another target somewhere, but if so, it wasn't very many. Rewatching that, there's blame to go around. It's still not a great choice.
It was like it was like a 2nd and 2, and it was a quick little Justin Watson goes 5 yards, turns around, Mahomes hits him. And then he catches it and turns upfield for like 2 or 3 more yards for a first down. It was one of those quick, let's just get a first down and keep the chains moving.
Yeah.
I think that's the only other target to Watson after the interception.
And in fairness, I've genuinely not even having to exaggerate. I don't know if Mahomes threw it more than 15 yards down the field more than one time after that. It just, everything felt so discombobulated that of course it's more than any just one thing. But I think that all of the one things that Kelce mentioned there, that it wasn't just that, every one of those things he mentioned is a legitimate problem that does not have a clear solution right now. And I think that's just kind of who they are.
I appreciate and also am frustrated at the same time by Jeff Schwartz. Mm-hmm. And that is, one of the things that I wrote down watching the game last night in the All-22 was how many times MVS was wide open. Just in the concept. Now, I am not the MVS defender. Nope. We've talked about that on the air. I'm ready for them to move on from MVS. I will give him credit that how many times he was open and is looking there and waving and doesn't get the ball and immediately goes and blocks somebody. Mm-hmm. Like, there is something to be said for that guy that, because we've talked about when the lateral happened against Buffalo, that Travis Kelce to Kadarius Toney. The only reason Kadarius Toney was there is because he was pouting and pumping his fist because he didn't get the football. And he had stopped running. And then, whoops, the football's coming to me. I'm high-stepping into the end zone. MVS doesn't do that. He doesn't get the ball, and he immediately goes and blocks for guys downfield. That's admirable. But as Jeff Schwartz tweeted out this morning and saying that he was going to go and watch film and says, watching Chiefs film, 15 just isn't going to throw the ball to 11. It's pretty glaring. Zero trust there. I'll have my film review soon. And that is one of the things I wrote down last night. I'm like, good God, MVS is high school wide open again. Oh, my God, MVS is college wide open. He's looking right at him. And then he clutches, and then he goes somewhere else. I don't know what it is. I mean, the one time he threw it to him, they were, off target. It was MVS running to the sideline. But there are plays where MVS is running to a spot and turning. And Mahomes is like, nope, I'll look somewhere else. And if there's no trust there, then one of two things have to happen, Josh. MVS cannot play, or Mahomes has to get over it.
Yep.
and just throw him the football. Because I can't imagine that the coaches in the film room are going, yeah, good decision there to look off MVS for a 15-yard gain from a clean pocket. That was a good decision. Way to then wait, and then roll to your right and throw it away. That was perfectly fine. There's no way Patrick Mahomes thinks that either. Right. But why? That's the question, is why is he seeing number 11 and going, no, thank you? Because it's not like it's seeing number 11 for a 2-yard gain. It's number 11, 15 yards down the field. Yeah. Who's open. And yet it is just not getting him to pull the trigger. MVS has 2 more games to play this year, and he has 42 fewer targets this year than a year ago. 42 fewer targets. He has less than half right now targets this year than he got last year. That's with Juju on the team and a healthy Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And a Jerick McKinnon, who was a running back that was way more involved in the passing game. Like, the question that I would have is why. In a candid moment, truth serum behind the scenes, put a listening device there as to why there's nope, I'm not going to throw him the ball. Because I believe in that Cincinnati Bengals game, he had no choice but to throw him the ball.
Yes, correct.
Because he was the only one there. And he just threw it to him and threw it to him and threw it to him. And MVS had a good game. I don't know what's happened since then.
I think I do, honestly. Not even like snarkily. I think I know why. And it's that MVS this year has regressed as a player, and he has bitten Mahomes in huge moments. Yeah, and hey, this deep target, be where I want you to be, play like a veteran, maybe acknowledge it like a veteran. I think MVS absolutely demolished any trust Mahomes had in him built up from that playoff run. And I understand why Mahomes lost that trust. It goes back to the other side of it, the logical conclusion of, I can't even remember what the play was a few weeks ago that we talked about quite a bit, where I think he targeted MVS instead of progressing further when he would have found Travis Kelce being wide open. And it's like, man, I mean, if MVS, he's letting you down. Go to a wide open Travis Kelce a little bit further on. Well, that is where you end up when you say, all right, MVS is open down the field, but that dude's bitten me time and time again. Let me go find 87, and you realize, well, 87's covered now, and the play's over.
Let me go find 4.
Right. That I think becomes the way that this offense is broken in the way that it is here now. When you don't know who you can trust, and when you do see an open receiver, you don't trust it. Again, which is as much on MVS as it is on Mahomes, if not more on MVS, but it is a shared burden at this point.
There's a couple plays in particular, and I know we need to break. One, I do wonder that 45-yard throw to Richie James, if MVS was running that route, would he have fired it?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he was so wide open, it would be hard-pressed to not throw the ball to that guy who's sitting there wide open. But he's got no hesitation of firing it to number 17 if he sees it right now, because I don't know that he's let him down to this point. And one other that ended up being a positive play, but I think it's indicative of where this offense is and where Mahomes' mindset is with MVS out there on the field. It was the 3rd and 10, the 15-yard throw to Rashee Rice, when he's, runs the out route, and Mahomes sits in the pocket, clean pocket, boom, fires it to Rashee Rice, catches the ball, for 15 yards and gets tackled near the sideline. The all 22 of that play, MVS is about 8 or 9 yards behind Rashee Rice, on top of him, running wide open free. And Mahomes didn't look at him. He looked at Rashee Rice and threw it to Rashee Rice. And if he throws it to the next level, it's like a 30-yard gain to MVS, if he catches it. Now, maybe MVS was in the wrong spot and he wasn't supposed to be running that route. I don't know. But I know MVS was let go and ran free, and Rashee Rice was guarded with a man on his back, and Mahomes chose the lower level, guarded Rashee Rice rather than a running wide open MVS. Again, maybe he didn't see it through the offensive line, and he's sort of looking to his right to see if there's pressure, and he sees Rashee Rice cutting and said, boom, I'm going to throw him the ball. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty indicative that even in a positive play, there was a bigger play available, but it was available to number 11, who was available a lot on Monday and yet got 1 target. That's a problem. Either he needs to leave the game, or Mahomes has to get over whatever lack of trust that's there and just simply throw the ball where it needs to go and see if the offense will start, moving the football a little bit, because the Chiefs can't afford to turn down open receivers right now. They just can't. Whether you trust them or not, you just can't afford to turn down guys that happen to be open in the concepts and in the flow of the offense. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll hang out with Cynthia Freeland coming up at 11 o'clock. More Zone next. All right, we'll talk with Cynthia Freeland coming up in the next segment. Get her thoughts on what's going on in the AFC, the Chiefs, and I don't know, any fixes that go along with that. We'll hang out with Cynthia, NFL Network analytics expert, talk with her and see what the Cincinnati Bengals have to offer. And also, we'll talk with Field Yates. And one of the things that I want to pick Field Yates' brain about is, this is a team that people have talked about. Are they mentally exhausted? Are they just mentally fried? Well, there's a scenario in which the Chiefs won't have anything to play for in Week 18, where they will be locked into the 3 seed. Is it better to just sort of get that break? Or is it better to double down and say, we're going in playoff mode right now, double down, let's do more, let's be more focused and concentrate more, as opposed to the George Brett, try less hard? I don't know. I wonder what Field Yates' thoughts are on that mental side of it.
She's done the research.
I measured the big boys' booties for like 2 years.
She's analyzed the data.
If you can keep that big booty down, like if you are a big boy, if you're very tall and you can keep your booty down low, then you are far more successful.
She's crunched the numbers, and the results are clear.
The back of booty isn't as good, as it turns out.
If she picks a dog, she'll have the math to back it up.
It's not like Travis Kelce has done. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
It's Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, welcome back here in the zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. It is a Wednesday edition of the show. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour. Right now, let's talk with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert, joining us here in the zone on a Wednesday. Cynthia, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I am doing just fine. How was your Christmas? How was Monday for you?
We had a great time, other than certain things that I'm sure you're aware of, because my mother is obviously a massive Chiefs fan. I have to say, when we went to the Chargers and Bills game on Saturday, she even has like the clear Chiefs purse, that you can take to games, and she was rocking it at the Chargers and Bills game.
Amazing. That is crazy, and it was a fun game. You guys got a fun. You know what? Chiefs fans that went out on Christmas were probably expecting to have a lot more fun than people that went to Bills and Chargers games with what ended up happening out there. I was surprised at how close it was. It's sort of a little bit of the NFL, a new coach, teams can sort of rally for a little bit. And also Buffalo, that's sort of a mindset of you're playing some good football, you're doing some things, and then it's like, the Chargers, they lost 63-0. It's human nature to maybe let down a little bit. I definitely want to talk some Chiefs with you, but what did you make of that game where it took, all 60 minutes for Buffalo to pull out the victory?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see how well the Chargers, who have a very porous secondary, were able to contain Stephon Diggs primarily, and also kind of keep the tight ends in check too, because both tight ends are very helpful to this offense. So that was kind of my takeaway with it, was that their secondary didn't look like obviously I don't think that the Chargers were expecting Aiden O'Connell to light them up for the way he did, but I would have expected probably a bit more consistency from the Bills offense in that matchup, and some weird penalties that I know every coach absolutely hates penalties, but I watched the vein on Sean McDermott's head, because I've seen him up close doing preseason, and I'm like, that man's going to he hates this. He literally hates this. So it was crazy. But I have to give some credit. Before the game, I brought my two nephews who are 6, and they're twins. And Stephon Diggs was so generous. He threw the ball with both of them. There's a lot of kids asking for something. So I will say, that it's such a good family day. And even though it was a close game and Diggs didn't get in the end zone like they wanted, now that, he threw the ball with them, so he's their favorite right now. So it was still
amazing.
Really special.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was fun, and that's all that matters. I do want to pass along and get your thoughts on some breaking news. There was talk of it yesterday, and then this morning, and Ian Rappaport at NFL Network saying the Broncos strongly considering Russell Wilson sit out the final 2 games, preserving the financial flexibility for the offseason. He's got $37 million in 2025 salary that vests in 2024. And if he suffered a serious injury, it complicates a lot of things. This coming down just a few minutes ago that Sean Payton has in fact informed Russell Wilson that Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback the final 2 weeks.
Yikes, man. Let's tough on the streets in Denver. That's cold. I mean, yikes. I guess on some level it's good to have clarity and to, wow. I mean, I read that and I was like, okay, they're, clearly making a decision. They've probably, look, when you have new ownership and, the GM made different decisions than the head coach. When the GM doesn't come in with the head coach, or the head coach in the case of the Chiefs and the GM don't have the kind of relationship that the Chiefs situation is, they've got to get that under control. And it's not like when you hire Sean Payton, you think, hey, this man's going to be any sort of pushover, because you know that's not what you're getting, right? So they probably had this in mind, like if things don't go well, we're going to let Sean kind of take the reins. There were some interesting decisions made. I mean, look, like hindsight's always 20/20, but I think a lot of people were sort of questioning some of the other decisions made by some of that staff before Sean Payton was even brought in. So to be fair, I'm all about transparency. If you're going to do it, rip off the Band-Aid, but still a little tough on the streets. I mean, Merry Christmas, Russell. Get the hell out of Denver. You know,
yeah,
like, geez.
I mean, my read on this is twofold. One, if they're doing that to preserve the flexibility in the offseason, it tells me they've moved on from Russell Wilson. And if you don't think he's the guy, then he's not the guy. They've allowed Sean Payton an offseason and this season to see if Russell Wilson will be the guy moving forward. I'm not sure what they do this offseason since he's got an $85 million dead cap hit, as opposed to a $35 million cap hit. Not sure. Maybe they'll figure some things out, but that's what they're dealing with right now. And it also tells me that if the ownership is behind this move and maybe having to eat some money, it tells me that they're fully invested in behind Sean Payton as their coach moving forward.
100%. But here's the thing I think is kind of strange, right? You're talking about the preservation of financial flexibility. Well, when you tell the market that you don't want something, you no longer have leverage. So what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, it's just confusing. Yeah. Because if you think about it, maybe what they should do is they should have just said something like, we're going to give Jarrett Stidham a try to see, like, if he's something. At least position it in a way where you're not like, we're done with this guy. He's very expensive. Does someone want to buy this asset off the market for no other suitor? You know, like, you either have to be extremely confident that several teams would want him, or you just don't care about you know what I mean? Like, you're willing to take the cap hit. And I guess if you look at some of the Saints' past cap situations, they have figured out ways to make things work. So perhaps because of his Saints background, Sean feels more confident that they can work some magic and the cap number will go up high enough for them to be okay. But holy smokes, it's just a little, like, where's your, like, I'm always about, like, signal something to the market, like, this is my guy, I love him, we're best friends, and then get rid of it. I mean, it's better to be transparent, but you don't have any leverage anymore.
Yeah, I wonder, like, the financial flexibility, it's got to be, don't let him get injured in the last 2 weeks. If he gets injured, then, the 2025 salary becomes fully guaranteed.
What do you think happens to his offense, or to his office? You know, he has that, like, have you've heard these rumors? He's got, like, this office in the building, and it's, like, all decorated. Like, do you think they, like, start to move the stuff out, or what?
No, Jarrett Stidham takes over. He gets to sit in the office.
Perfect, yeah. He crosses his name off with, like, a single Sharpie line and, like, writes his own.
They actually show, like, the peeling of the name of Russell Wilson, starting quarterback, off the window, and then peeling the new sticker on there. They're sliding the nameplate off of the top of the door and sliding in the new nameplate of Jarrett Stidham in the office. One of those.
They need to do Hard Knocks right now for that.
Russell Wilson is now walking through the facilities with, like, a box full of his stuff on his desk. Well, guys, I guess I'll see you guys later. Stay in touch. I will do, man. We'll do. Miss you. All that stuff. Interesting stuff.
Bank account, and then he checks his mobile app, sees his bank account. Oh, check still cashing. Okay, onward and upward. I mean, goodness.
Yeah. There are worse ways to be fired than having hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank and more coming to you, whether you work or not. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. How bad was Monday's game to you for the Chiefs and Raiders? Not necessarily you personally, but how bad of a game was that from your perspective watching it?
It was super confounding. It's very rare to see 0 completed passes after a first quarter. In fact, I can't find another instance of it, and the team's still winning. I mean, that was bananas. Like, it was kind of like every possible low probability thing hit. There was just a lot of things that were not working, clearly. But it's rare to see that many things, especially, the Chiefs defense was playing great. It's just rare to see all of those things happen. And, Antonio Pierce, it's funny. He's like, 15 just hits a little different, and he's like, I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't, 15 is just, it's never safe with 15.
Yeah. But it was an odd feeling Monday because, the Chiefs were down 17-7, and it was in the second half, and there was a punt from the Raiders that put the Chiefs back at like the 10-yard line. And for the first time in a long time, like the Chiefs offense is going out there, and I'm like, I'm actually worried about the offense. I don't want them to turn it over. Like, can they just punt it away? Because instead of like, okay, what's the offense going to do? Can they drive 90 yards? It was like, I hope they don't give the ball right back to the Raiders because the defense is doing their job. If you give up extra points to the Raiders here because of the offense, like, I was actually concerned and worried about the offense making a mistake going out there as opposed to, heck yeah, let's see what the offense could do now. Let's get back in this thing. Let's see if they get rolling and make this thing a game. And it's an odd feeling right now of almost a fear or a dread in that game where the offense came out on the field.
It was strange. Like, even the amount of pressure felt really weird. It felt like everyone was like a minute behind. Do you know what I mean? Like like the reaction times were slower. The spacing was. It's weird because there was often the pass catchers were open, so it just felt like I don't know, like something was just really amiss that doesn't usually happen. And like first quarter, I was like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, no big deal. And then I started to get like that punt you talk about. That's kind of when I felt like, okay, maybe this is just not their day. It was a very strange feeling. But I think now people are going way too far the other direction. Like, this team is not broken. It's okay.
Interesting.
Like, weird stuff happens. Look at everything else.
Okay. Yeah, I want to get into that here in a little bit just to get your perspective as to why that's the case, because it feels broken around here. And, one of the things I wrote down in the notes after the game was over was, when Mahomes is playing well, this Chiefs team can get into the 20s and can score in the 30s, even with some of the issues going on. But when Mahomes struggles in a game, along with the other players, this is what it looks like. It looks like pulling teeth. And Mahomes, I thought, played one of his worst games. I don't know, statistically and what some of the advanced grades might be, all of that stuff. And obviously throwing an interception, a pick six is going to kill, EPA and some of those things per drop back. So advanced stats be damned. I thought this was just one of those games to where there was a hesitation, whatever the reading of what would be viewed as sort of simple cues for the Chiefs offense and Mahomes in the past, and a quick, here's a 10, 15-yard gain because this linebacker's hips were facing the other way and this guy was peeling across on top of him, and that's a hitch, boom, throw it right there. And we've seen it so often in this offense. That was a pump fake and then a look somewhere else. It was weird watching a Patrick Mahomes that felt like, I don't know if there was a lack of confidence, a lack of conviction in guys around him, or let's just see if I can make something happen with my legs. Like, I don't know what was going on in that game, but it wasn't a typical Patrick Mahomes will kill you from the pocket first. That's not what was happening. Yep. He had some clean pockets, and he had guys open that he just didn't throw the ball to.
Well, it's weirdest when you see Travis Kelce open and him not throwing the ball to Travis. Like, that's the weirdest one for me, because it's one, to be fair to some of the other receivers, it's one thing if a guy who has dropped the ball a couple of times is open, right? It's another thing if Travis Kelce, who, okay, sometimes he drops the ball too, but not really compared to the long-term, situation that they've had together. So that was what was odd to me. It's like it was coming too fast in the sense of, like the progressions something was looking weird. I mean, not to be mean to the Raiders secondary, but it's not like some of these guys are world beaters, right? You don't have like it's not like the Rams defense when it was Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and everyone, like, it's not like that, right? They had a lot of confusing looks. They were doing a good job of mixing up their leverages, showing fake zone and man and some man and partial, different types of coverages, but that's not something that Patrick doesn't see every single week. So that's what was weird to me, was the fact that Travis Kelce being wide open, even when some of the other guys were blanketed, Rashee Rice specifically, that was odd. It's like they were, they picked the right, it's Vegas, so we can make a Vegas analogy. It's like they bet on the right number. Like, it's like the Raiders defense bet on the right number for where Patrick is going to look first every single time.
Visiting with Cynthia Fraley, an NFL Network analytics expert, where does the confidence come from you in watching the Chiefs, this offense, to where it doesn't feel as bad, and the pendulum swinging way too far one way in your mind from where it should be in a reaction from that game.
Well, when everyone in the run game gets banged up or injured or something strange is happening with that, and the pressure's coming, it's like the two foundational pieces. So the two things that Patrick's been able to rely on in the past few weeks has been, and this whole season really, with the O-line, right? Until a couple of weeks ago, there really wasn't any problems with the O-line. And even the run game, when it wasn't necessarily productive from the standpoint of, fantasy players being really excited about it, but it gave him a breath to get his eyes back and not have to make magic happen with his freaking legs. So it was kind of more of sometimes the run game doesn't look good, but abandoning it, not a great idea. And so during this time when things haven't been as great, that's kind of there's been way more pressure. So the foundational pieces, you can only have so many things go wrong before it starts to not look good, right? You can't the pressure, the no drops, there's a lot of things that all kind of went wrong at the same time. But by the way, that happens with other teams too. So it's not again, all you got to do is get into the postseason. It doesn't matter. I understand everyone's freaking out about home field advantage, et cetera. Patrick's never played not home field advantage. Okay, he's still the best quarterback of our time. He's going to be okay, even if he plays on the road. Yeah, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, the concern at this rate, Cynthia, is, maybe he still won't play a road playoff game because he'll get one at home in the first round. But who's to say they end up winning that game?
No.
I mean, there's some things going on, and you see some frustration boiling over on the sideline, and Kelsey throwing his helmet. And the second time in the last 4 weeks, Kelsey and Andy Reid have sort of, had a coming to Jesus moment, or a butting of heads moment, I should say,
yep.
On the sideline. It happened, I think, in the Bills game, or maybe it was the Eagles game, one of them, in which Andy Reid was yelling at Travis to get over here right now. Stop it. You stop it right now. Like it was a child or something that he was talking to, and then he keeps his helmet from being given to him by an equipment manager, and all of that stuff going on. I do wonder from this standpoint, Cynthia Freeland's our guest, the tackles were brutal in the game against the Raiders. And Wanya Morris is a rookie, third rounder. He's looked good in spurts, but he just got exposed on Monday. And Kuntz is really good, and we know how good Max Crosby is. And Juwan Taylor, has regressed over the last few weeks since we've talked about the weight of penalties to how well you're playing in pass protection. Well, that's out the window now because he's not playing all that well. How debilitating for an offense is it to have to chip and help tackles pretty much every passing play, at least one? And there were so many plays, Cynthia, where both of the tackles got helped by somebody in a passing play. How debilitating is that?
Well, now you're not playing 11 on 11, right? You are, but you're not playing with the full. What this Chiefs defense or offense rather does really well is mix up the spacing between the looks. And if you're now giving a tip off as to what the spacing is, meaning is this tight end going to chip, or are they going to roll out and Noah Gray catch ball, right? Is that what's going to happen? If you have that, the threat of things being confusing, then now your defense has to play completely differently. If they feel tipped off, or if they're picking the right thing every time, which kind of felt like they were, that is where you're starting to see something like, okay, now I need two people on Max Crosby, I need two people on this, I need two people on that. Then who's going to be open? Not sure, right? So that's kind of where it becomes different.
Yeah, and I think probably the frustrating part is they were doing that so often, and yet there was still pressure so often in the backfield.
That's right.
I mean, that's just it cuts you off at the knees with your offense. I mean, it's hard to really when people talk about get a rhythm going, and man, it's hard to get a rhythm when a different play is a different guy that's doing something that may be a mistake, and that's what Travis Kelce talked about in the New Heights podcast this morning, saying it's different guys on different plays. And watching the All-22, I could not agree more. Here's one offensive
Yeah.
lineman that got blown up. Well, okay, here's the wide receiver that did this. Here's an offensive. Here's Mahomes not firing it and throwing it to the wide open guy. It was just each play. It was like, wow, if that doesn't happen, boy, that's a big gain. If this doesn't happen, well, those are a lot of ifs to fix in just a couple of weeks before it's an early off season.
Yeah, but look, divisional games are always weird, and then you put on top of that the fact that look, when they're picking, they were on one. Like the Raiders came out on one. Not to say that the Chiefs didn't, but the energy that they had, they're playing for their coach to get a head coaching job. That is a narrative team if there ever were one. Meaning, they buy into the story. They're trying to figure some stuff out. I mean, I do take away some good things, like the fact that Devontae Adams was really held in check. Okay, you want to beat me with a running back that we didn't even know was playing this time last week? Not okay, but sometimes you've got to surrender something, right? You can't solve every problem. Well, we solved the known one, right? Devontae Adams didn't have a good game because he was accounted for on every down. So, I mean, look, it was really, like I said, it's like they were picking the right number in roulette every single time.
Visiting with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert, what do you make of and maybe the reasons behind? And maybe we've addressed those and touched on them, but just curious as to what you may point to with the Chiefs' deep passing game. That for a couple of years it was that too deep safety is why the Chiefs can't go and attack over the top, and the amount of plays where the Raiders had a safety in the box. On Monday, eliminates that excuse of, well, you can't take a deep shot because, they're making sure they keep everything underneath. And in the game, the Chiefs, Mahomes threw the ball 44 times, 10 or more air yards past the line of scrimmage. In the entire game, he had 5 attempts throwing the ball 10 or more air yards down the field. 5 attempts, 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, right? He was 2 of 5. They threw the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage, Cynthia, 15 times. 15 of his 44 attempts were at or behind the line of scrimmage. He was 12 of 15 on those. But what do you make of that it just felt like a check down game when the Raiders were saying, we're actually going to challenge you to beat us over the top, and we're not going to let you just check it down and take things underneath. We're going to bring a safety up here to the box to stop the run and also to stop some of the short game you guys are using.
Pressure and trust. That's what I attribute that to.
Okay.
Pressure, meaning he was under more pressure than he's been in a while. And 2, trust, meaning there's not a lot of deep threats that he feels it has a good connection with this season. I mean, I'm trying to say it nicely, right? I don't know if I would trust people either. It's sometimes it just takes a little bit, maybe a couple of deep, you have a couple and you get going and you get into that, you can visualize what's happening. The psychology of it is real. You understand how to get back in rhythm. But when you're out of rhythm, it can be very difficult, especially when the pressure's coming at you, to find that rhythm if you haven't been in rhythm really at least for the past couple months.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just
since the bye, there have been very few rhythm moments.
Yeah, which the bye was going to be all right. Now you take off in the second half of the season, and that unfortunately has not been the case. There's certainly some things to fix, and nobody is without blame, including the coaching staff and across the board, Patrick Mahomes as well. And the good thing is, I think it would be a bigger issue if the Chiefs' offense looked like that, and we watch film and go, man, Mahomes was just brilliant in that game, and they looked like that. I'd rather have it be to where, the one of the games where I come out of and I watch the All-22 and I go, that kind of reminded me of the second half against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. That's kind of what it felt like. I'd rather have it to where, boy, kind of an issue was Mahomes. One of the bigger issues, quite frankly, in the game was Mahomes. I'd rather it be that than something that you go can't be fixed, because I do believe that can be fixed because we've seen it. He's a 2-time MVP.
100%. Everyone's the hard part is when you have Mahomes and he doesn't look like the guy that is the absolute best player of our time, then it's hard because you're like, well, it must be someone else, right? But sometimes he is also a human, and it doesn't always have to be his best game. This man is a miracle worker, we know, but the magician, all the things. but sometimes everybody has a down game. It's going to be okay. People need to, like, it's bananas, some of the narratives. And look, like, we're in media. We know people are just trying to be salacious, and you always go after the biggest and best if you want to be salacious. Like, relax. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
What do you think of this weekend, Chiefs and Bengals? They can wrap up the AFC West. What do you think of this matchup? The Bengals, DJ Reader's not there, so hopefully that the Steelers were able to run the ball. Hopefully that helps out with running the football a little bit, maybe getting some rhythm going. So what do you think of this matchup with the Chiefs and Bengals?
Look, the Bengals defensive coordinator specifically is like attuned to figuring out Patrick. That's like that's like, Lou Anarumo.
Ready for him to get a job.
He should get a job somewhere else, but look, that's a different story. But he's a great defensive coordinator. The problem is they just are missing so many pieces, and that secondary, we saw it last week. That was such a weird game. But even if Cam Taylor-Britt comes back and he's been designated to return from IR, that was their best corner. That's still not enough. They're missing those safeties that went elsewhere. That's a really big loss, right? Jesse Bates is lighting it up for Atlanta. And, of course, Von Bell's in Carolina, which was whatever. It's a down year for Carolina. But, look, the truth is, the reality is they just don't have it. Again, the offense, it's really, to me, it's going to come down to, I want to see that the Chiefs offense look good, but I don't think that this Bengals offense has enough steam to handle what this defense will bring to them.
All right, we'll see what happens. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Cynthia, as always, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on your Lions winning the division for the first time in 30 years. That is awesome. So congrats to that, and what a way to bring in the new year for your Lions winning the division.
Yeah. I was crying on TV, and I had worked for 7 hours, so I was a little tired as well, but I started crying, and then I started laughing because I was crying on TV. It was quite the range of emotions all at once.
It is amazing, the tortured Lions fan, and getting success and what Dan Campbell has done. Cynthia, great stuff as always. Appreciate the time. Enjoy the football, and we will talk next week.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. Talk to you next year.
Yes, to you as well. Talk to you in 2024. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Great stuff as always. Love talking with Cynthia each and every Wednesday. And her Lions winning the division first time in 30 years. It's so funny how spoiled, you can get, certainly around here, that it's like, the Chiefs can win the division on Sunday. For the 8th straight time. But can they win? Are they a Super Bowl team, though? And that's what happens with, look, if the Lions win the division 5, 6, 7 years in a row, it'd be the same thing in Detroit of like, oh, yeah, 8 times in a row. But still, what about winning a Super Bowl? That's just, fanatic fandom, all of that stuff. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour. Field Yates will join us in the noon hour. Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. We do have Learn Funniest Best today from a long weekend, really, with Mick Schaefer. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone right after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. will join us in the noon hour. Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. I know she is an optimist at heart. I will say that about Cynthia. It's one of the things we love, having her on and talking with her, and all of the information and sort of that positive outlook. But even with that, still, a little surprised at hey, everything's fine, guys. The pendulum's swinging too far. It's not broken. Things will be fine for the Chiefs, and offensively. And that is where sort of this wrestling match has gone on most of the season of, hey, they'll figure it out. It's Patrick Mahomes, or they won't figure it out because it's way too far down the road and they're running out of runway. And this is a team that is just different, fractured, broken, whatever it is this year as opposed to years past, that it's time just to simply look in the mirror and say, this team has a pretty decent chance of going one and done in the postseason, winning the division, and then that being could be the last win. I mean, Sunday, in theory, if the Chiefs have the 3 seed all wrapped up and they can't get the 2 or the 1 seed or the 4 going into Week 18 and rest people, then, I mean, in theory, Sunday could be the last win of the season. That is because they would have won if that is the case of the scenario of the Week 18 that I mentioned, because, wild card round at home, I don't know the team that you look at and go, boy, this is the team that I want to face, because like Indianapolis being the 7 seed, well, you ain't playing that. That's they would go to Miami because we'd be talking about them being the 3 seed. I am still a little surprised that even though Josh, she is sort of an eternal optimist, that she is that optimistic about, hey, things will be fine. They'll figure it out. It's the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes. And there's still that sort of leash given based on historical precedent.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? It's just like we have seen it look not great before, and then they have found answers. The problem at this point, I think, is just that question of, like, is there something we have not seen yet this year? Because unless Cynthia's thinking of something else that I'm not at the moment, like, I don't even feel like there's a 3-game stretch this year that you could point to and go, like, that they had it humming for a few games in there. You had moments kind of in the post-Rashee Rice era, but it just hasn't been very consistent, and you're going to have to win with multiple really solid and at least non-catastrophic efforts several weeks in a row, and I don't know if the Chiefs are built for that right now.
Yeah, I mean, have there been back-to-back games where you're like, there it is. They're turning some things around, like Detroit to Jacksonville to Chicago. Those are 2, not back-to-back. Chicago to the Jets, no. Jets to the Vikings, no. Vikings to the Broncos, definitely not. Broncos to the Chargers. Well, they played the Broncos the week before when they scored 19 points. Then they scored 31 against the Chargers. Okay, feeling good. Next week, 9. So Chargers to the Broncos. No, not even back-to-back. Broncos scoring 9 and then going and playing the way they did against the Dolphins and jumping out 21-0 going into the bye. And then the Eagles, after that. Eagles to Raiders. They score 31. Okay, great. Raiders to Packers. Nope. And then, of course, the Bills. Patriots, okay, they did some, and then the Raiders. So they haven't even had a 2-game stretch, Josh, where they have looked pretty good in back-to-back games. That is incredibly confounding for this team. And I don't know if it's putting lipstick on a pig or if it is just simply deferring to the greatness of number 15 while also acknowledging this is one of the worst games I've watched him play. It reminded me of the 2021 AFC Championship game, the second half against the Bengals. That's what it looked like out there on the field for me, watching so many reads that Mahomes just didn't make, didn't throw, whatever was going on, hesitated. That's what he looked like the second half against the Bengals. I've seen that before, and maybe it is just, deferring to that part of it when I say to Cynthia, I guess the positive I can take away from that is Mahomes didn't have a brilliant game, and they scored 14 points. He was a big part of the problem, and they scored 14 points. He's one of the guys that I expect can improve. If you're saying, well, where does the improvement come from? Number 15. There's where some of the improvement comes from. Does it come from left tackle, right tackle? I ain't banking on that. Does it come from MVS or other wide receivers? I ain't banking on that. But it can come from 15. I mean, maybe that's just an extreme optimistic view. I
mean, theoretically, it can come from Andy Reid also. I mean,
you know what? Absolutely right. He is not. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He should be. It's almost like 15 Andy Reid and the whole group is like together. But
right.
Andy Reid can scheme up some plays, and if Patrick Mahomes doesn't pull the trigger and throw it to the open guy, I mean, I don't know what more at that point. It's like then it's the coaching between the ears part of it, right?
Yeah.
Of figuring some of those things out of why he's not throwing the ball.
At this point, I think I've settled into them being a high variance team where they're and not that the highs have been that high this year, but there have been brief moments of it. Like I think there is a chance that this is going to sound like a joke. I think there's a chance Patrick Mahomes has a game where he hits MVS like for 120 and a touchdown in a playoff game, and you go, oh, there it is again, because we have seen that. I'm just not going to bet on it happening, and I'm certainly not going to bet on it happening 2 or 3 games in a row.
I'll be fascinated to see how many targets for MVS against the Bengals because of how many times he was college wide open in the game, and just I see the ones. I'm not throwing it. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from Field Yates coming up in the show as well. Mick Schaefer, all still to come right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. Field Yates will join us. Mick Schaefer here on the show on this Wednesday edition. You know, we've talked about so many negative things, and I posted last night during the KU bowl game, watching that while, watching the All-22, et cetera. I was watching film. So watching all of those things, and I tweeted out that there's so many different plays that you could highlight the negative or the missed opportunities that happened on that play. But I wanted to give a shout out, and I did it on Twitter, to, it's one play, but I think it's one play that's indicative of sort of his mindset in Nick Allegretti and what he did on the long pass to Richie James. First of all, taking on the defensive tackle, and then there was a little bit of a stunt ready for that, and then didn't have anybody else to block, looks downfield, the ball's being thrown to Richie James, and he just takes off and sprints 40 yards down the field, sprinting to go and help out Richie James. MVS is down there as well, and then before Richie James gets tackled, Allegretti gets to the pile and lays a blow to the a couple of Raiders defenders while he was down there, just busting ass to get all the way down the field to help out on a just in case. There are 5 Raiders guys down there and Richie James. No way he's going to make a difference, right? Doesn't matter. He just took off and sprinted. And for as much of the negativity we've had over the last couple of days, that one is, to me, is one at least worth pointing out, because Allegretti can have a spot on any team that that I would have with the way that he plays and what he does and the value he brings to a team.
Nick Allegretti.
Oh, yes.
You can have that one. I feel like maybe we're in custom jersey territory. And look, also with the year that Trey Smith has had, obviously, hopefully his injury is not serious and that he can start working back. But it's been a rough go for Trey Smith, even pre-injury, and having Allegretti come in and bring a little juice, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, it was perfectly fun. I did like a number of the responses there when some person said, when mom yells out the pizza rolls are ready, and he's running in from the outside to go and eat some pizza rolls, just for no reason. Just I'm going to sprint down there and play.
You know, he looked pretty good there. Do you think he could catch a pass?
No.
Trey Smith comes back, put Nick Allegretti in the slot, see if Mahomes trusts him?
You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that at all. I know that the Chiefs won't do this because it'll look like panicking. But I would entertain somebody on Twitter that was like, you know what? With Nick Allegretti playing the way that he has and not feeling like he is a hole on the offensive line, maybe Allegretti left guard and move Tooney out to left tackle and see what you got.
Yeah.
Move forward with that. Mike, you know what? At this point, any port in a storm, it feels like, with the tackle position and having to give help so often. But if the Chiefs do that, it'll look like from the coaching side, panic. And we can't let's just stay what we're doing and we'll figure it out. At that point, they're saying we don't have the horses to figure it out. But also, it might be looking in the mirror time to say we don't have the horses to figure it out right now.
It also just is still a little bit weird that they may be paying their best tackle like close to $30 million to play guard.
Yeah,
I don't know. Joe Tooney's a great player, and that's always been obvious. But that contract, from the moment it was signed, it just felt like an interesting choice in terms of where to put that investment. I know they wanted to have like a blue chip O lineman in there, and maybe I'm sure that's been helpful for Creed's development, and hopefully it'll be helpful for Wanya Morris's development, and he can benefit the guys around him. But man, it's a lot of money spent on a really excellent left guard and a really underwhelming right tackle so far, and that money hasn't even actually started hitting the cap yet on the right side.
No doubt. I mean, next year you're going to have $50 million between left guard and right tackle. That's throw-up worthy.
You don't necessarily want to do that even if you knew it was going to be like a top 5 guard tackle duo in football.
I mean, for real, man. All right, here's Andy Reid, I believe, at the podium.
L'Jarius Sneed won't go today. He's got a calf strain. Jalen Watson is sick. Pacheco is in protocol. Donovan Smith still has some tingling with the stingers there. And then Kadarius Toney with the hip strain. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Bengals. Heck of a football team. So well coached. I mean, Zach does a great job with them and works with the offense likewise, and Lou does a nice job with that defense. So we've got a good week of preparation, and that's where we're headed. So with that, time's right.
Andy, cameras seem to be catching a lot of just frustration on the sidelines. Do you feel like it's an unusual amount, and do you feel like anything need to be calmed down? Is that part of your message this week?
Yeah. So I mean, listen, when you've won a lot of games, that happens. Your tolerance level for not doing as well as we should goes down, and so things happen. But that's the great part about this is emotional football game. The game of football is an emotional game. So that's expected. I mean, you see those things happen. We just got to make sure we generate it in the right direction, and we go that way. So. And fix the problems. That's the first thing. So, and I've got a big piece of that. Very responsible for things going on. So, on the offensive side of the ball, and so I always look here first, and then we try to address the other issues that we might have. So.
Is there any particular way to address that part about making sure it's sort of harnessed in the right way? I mean, is it something?
Well, we talk about everything, we make sure we cover everything. So, yeah.
How do you do that, Andy? How do you turn all that frustration into something positive?
Well, that's what you do. You work to get yourself better. I mean, that's to make it positive. So that's the only way of going about it. You write a bad article. I know you've heard that. But you write a bad article, and you come back and you're going to do better the next one. So.
You told us a lot of times over the years, when there's mistakes and things, you got to clean up and do that. I'm assuming you're trying to push those same buttons and get that done. Is things just not catching this time around, or as a little longer? Or?
You keep working. Stay positive, move forward, learn, teach, practice do the fundamental things. That's what you do. Control what you can control.
And there were a few moments that seemed like a maybe pre-snap confusion. I don't know where it lied, but how would you just diagnose that and smoothen out that process?
That's my fault on that. So I gotta make sure that's right. And when I stand up here and tell you that I've got a piece of that pie, I mean that's directly pointed right at me. So I gotta make sure that guys can do that. Yeah, and make sure we're right there.
Andy, y'all preach keep working, but what do you tell the guys when they always keep working, but things still don't fall how they want them to?
Yeah, so it's like any other profession, right? You've got things you can work on to get better. Focus on that. Right? Focus on those things to get better, and that's what you do. And you take care of that business first. So that's what we're working on.
Andy, when you review Monday's game, is there an overarching theme as to why you think Patrick struggled, or is it a multitude of issues that sort of compound one another?
Yeah, I mean, there are a variety of things. So, again, I've got to help him with some of that. And then, he's aware of what he's got to work on. I'm aware of what I've got to work on. And Nags feels the same way, so we just make sure we're right all the way around. But it's, it takes everybody. It's a team, so it takes everybody.
What effect is all this stuff going on around him? What effect has that had on Pat?
Yeah, I think, listen, he's a very positive thinker, so he's very focused. He understands that, he's got to do his part, and the other guys have to do their part, and he works with them to do that, and works on himself, and he does all of that. So he's a joy to coach that way.
Coach, other than with Rashid, it seems like the receiver play time has kind of fluctuated throughout the season. How much do you feel like you guys are still looking for the right combination there, ahead of this push?
Yeah, well, we've given everybody, opportunities for different things, and so, we'll keep working on that. Again, there are other things that are involved with it, so we just keep working.
Andy, when you see Patrick get to a point where he's hesitant to make throws downfield and looking guys off and scrambling, what do you tell him in that moment in those games where things kind of snowball?
Yeah, we talk. I mean, we just talk during games. Yeah, without saying that you're right on the thing, but I mean, we talk on that. So yeah.
Andy, with Travis in particular, have you felt any need to talk with him more after that exchange you guys had?
Yeah, no, Travis and I have talked.
Anything in particular you wanted to get across?
With you? No.
Yes.
No.
Sure. Yes.
No, we talked. Yeah.
You guys have faced the Bengals a bunch of times over the last few years, and their defense has done a decent job here and there on you. What is it about what they do that has been tough at times?
Yeah, multiple looks. They're great with that. They're good players. They've got real good players, and their defense coordinator is real good. I mean, he's got them well taught, and they do a nice job with all their different schemes.
Andy, you mentioned that Tony's not practicing today. Any thought that he could still be ready to go by Sunday, or are you thinking it's another week from now?
I think it's probably day by day as you look at it. Yeah.
What about Hardman? You feel like he'll be up on Sunday?
We'll see. We're going to give him another chance to get out there and practice, and we'll see how that goes.
On the Bengals again, a different quarterback, but kind of the same look for them, isn't it, offensively?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, very much so. Yeah, they've done well. Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've changed a lot that way, and the kid's done a great job. So for him.
Couple more guys. How serious is Donovan Smith's stinger since it's kept him out for a few weeks now?
Yeah, I think the rest is helping it. So it's getting better. It just takes a little bit of time. So.
And what were your discussions with the O-line, just kind of pumping them up after such a tough day on Monday?
Yeah, so look, I talk to everybody, and that's between me and the players. I mean, that's all part of this thing. I mean, it's the same way when Vahe asked about Kels. I mean, Kels and I have a great relationship, so I mean, I go to him, I go to the offensive line. I mean, I talk to these guys, and I think that's important, you know. And then these guys are emotional. They want to do well. That's what you see, and they you know, they do get. There's a sense of frustration. We're trying to do better, and that urgency is going to help us get better.
Anything else? Go ahead. Last one, Nate.
Andy, you're so consistent on trying to not get too high, not get too low. How much do you feel like that sort of mindset reminder is necessary for a time like this in this particular part of the season?
And listen, the guys, they know me and how I present things. I mean, I talk to them. I talk to the team every day, you know, so, you know, I get my points across.
All right. Thank you.
All right, there's Andy Reid. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Message continues to be the same. Work, keep it positive. Work, try to fix the things that you can control. A variety of things are going on. Fix the problems first. Frustrations, he said, when you've won a lot of games, the tolerance level for struggling goes down. That was an interesting answer. Here's Patrick.
Pat, just what's the biggest takeaway from Monday?
I think it's got to be better. As a unit, I got to play better, read the field better, and learn. I mean, you got to learn from your mistakes, and you get to be better this next week because we got a great game against a great team coming up.
Patrick, it seems like whether it's the way the cameras are or just the situation, that it seems like you're demonstrating more frustration lately than you normally have. Is that at all conscious, or is it just a reflection of what's been happening these last few weeks?
Just don't think I like losing, so I don't think anybody can be frustrated when they lose. It's just about how you respond.
Is it hard to know how to harness that? I mean, is that the way you want to do that message, to kind of make sure you motivate that way?
I think you motivate in a lot of different ways. I think I'll try to do my best to be positive and keep the guys going in the right direction. But, I mean, you catch me sometimes on the sideline, I look frustrated. I think a lot of guys are frustrated that we're losing, but at the same time, you got to have the right message to know that the guys know that I believe in them, and I do. And so now it's just about how can we utilize our situation and make it a positive going into this next week.
Patrick, how do you channel all that frustration into something positive? And I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about Kelsey and everybody else.
Yeah, I think people see frustration and they think it causes like controversy. But I see it as a way of showing that people care. They care about their profession. They care about trying to do whatever they can to win games. And so when I see stuff like that happen, obviously we want to be in a positive light and everything like that. But I see someone that cares about the game and someone that wants to be better, and not better for themselves but for the team.
Patrick, one of your worst games was that loss in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you responded well for the remainder of the season. What have you found about yourself that allows you to reset when you do have a poor performance?
You have to be critical with yourself. You have to be true to what's on the film and what's happening. I think a lot of people will make excuses, and that's why they don't take that next step or become better because of it. But you got to see the film. I mean, you look at the film, you made a lot of mistakes that you can't make in this league if you want to have success, and you have to learn from them and get better from them. If you look at it and try to make an excuse for why something happened or it's not your fault because this happened, then that's when you kind of stuff snowballs. I think if you look at the film and say, hey, I got to be better here, I got to get better footwork, I got to work the pocket better, I get the ball out of my hands when I need to, and learn like that, then you can be better that next week, and we're gonna take that. I mean, this is a great defense that we're playing.
Is there an example of something that you did not notice in the moment on Monday that you look back, I don't know, Monday night or Tuesday, that says, oh, that's an even bigger issue than maybe I originally thought in the moment?
Yeah, I think there's just little things with the footwork. I think anytime you see me drifting backwards in the pocket, that's never good for the team. That's something that goes back to my Texas Tech days, where I get in these old habits of I'm trying to make a big play happen whenever the play is there. And I think towards the end of the game, you saw that as I was drifting, maybe looking at the D line, and that's stuff that's gotten me in trouble before. And so you just learn from that stuff and try to get back to my footwork and fundamentals. And I think if I can do that and let the offense work for me, then I can go out there and have success.
Jumping off that, when you see guys downfield but not where they should be or where you want them to be, and you're having to scramble and do extra things, just can you take the mentality of kind of things going on around you when they're not at their highest level?
I mean, in order for offenses to work in this league, it takes everybody, and it starts with me, and then it kind of goes throughout everyone else, and everybody has to be on the same page. And this last week we weren't on the same page in some critical moments, and that hurt us. But I believe in these guys, man. I mean, we work our tail off, and I know we say it every week, but I mean, we go out there and we're going to put whatever we can on tape. Everybody's putting everything they have in this game and during the week and during the game, and I trust these guys are going to continue to work. And we got 2 games left to prove it. I mean, at the end of the day, we can talk about it all we want. We got 2 games left to show that this work that we're putting in every single week is going to pay off. And I mean, I know we're not going to be the 1 seed and everything like that, but we can still win the AFC West. We can get into the playoffs. And once you get to the playoffs, it's open for everybody to go out there and win it. And so I think that starts with today's practice, how we practice. We know Cincinnati. We know them well. They're going to play hard. They have a great football team, a great defense, and it'll be a great challenge for us as an offense to go up against.
Patrick, earlier you mentioned just making the throws when they're there. How would you just assess that part of Monday? And if not, just the root of maybe why some of the times you didn't pull the trigger there?
I think that goes back to me, man. I got to be critical of myself. There was times where there was throws there and I didn't make them. There was times where I went through my reads and maybe didn't get to the last one. I mean, that's just stuff that I have to be better at, and I think if I'm better at that, it'll make the whole offense better. And so that's just stuff you go back on the film, you learn from. Obviously, that wasn't our best performance. It wasn't my best performance, but you got to be critical of yourself and be better for it the next time.
And then also there was a time where the cameras caught you asking for the play more quickly. How would you just assess that operation, the timing of which you're getting the play, and what can smoothen out that piece of the operation?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, I think it's just we want to make sure that we're playing fast and we're playing the right way. And I felt like in that 2-minute drill we got a little confused in a few things here and there. But at the same time, man, we've been so high octane in those 2-minute drills. I know we'll get it back the right way. And so that's just going to take us going back to the fundamentals, just like I am, and getting the play into the receivers where they can go out there and play fast. And we got a lot of different guys playing, but I think the guys understand it and know it. And now let's just get back to who we are.
Patrick, you mentioned the pocket. Did you get the sense in your review of the game that maybe you were bailing too early, or was that just a product of the game and kind of everything sort of snowballing there?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. I mean, there's times where the pocket was clean and I was kind of drifting back, and that kind of invites the rest to be even better. And so I think I honestly thought the offensive line stepped up to the challenge as the game went on. I mean, obviously with those first few drives, you saw me talking to them, and I just challenged those guys to be better, and they were. And I think that then it's on me to if I'm going to challenge them to be better, I have to be better within the pocket. And so I was proud of how those guys responded throughout the middle parts of that game and then towards the end of it. But I have to trust those guys as much as I talk, and so that's on me to be better and better as games go on and don't drift and try to do too much.
Todd, Patrick, I watched part of Travis's podcast this morning. He was talking about things to maybe do, like extra reps, a little more work in the meetings, things like that. What's your plan this week to do anything different? Are you seeing what you want to see from your teammates on like redoubling and making more effort to get things done?
Yeah, I think guys are working hard. I mean, I've said every single week, guys are working hard to get better. And at the end of the day, we have to go out there and prove it. I mean, I know everybody hears us saying it, but unless we go out and prove it, I don't think anyone's going to believe it. So for us, we're going to go in with that mentality of we're going to work our tail off to make sure we can put our best effort forward this week. And we got to find a way to get a win in order to get into the playoffs. And so that's our attitude going into practice today.
Nate? Patrick, Marquez was on the field the most among the wide receivers, but yet one target. I just wonder how much you think he needs to be sort of reasserted back into the offense, and how can you sort of build a better connection with him moving forward?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's on me. I got to find ways to get him the ball. I mean, there's times where he's open on the football field, and I can see it on tape, and I have to just find ways to get him the football. And, I mean, if you look at the 2 games we played against the Bengals last year, he was a big part of those games. And so he's doing it. I think the best part about him is being professional. He's going to work, and even though I'm not getting the football in some of those moments, he's blocking his tail off. He's doing whatever he can to help the football team, and you want those guys on the field and playing.
Last 2, Stephen and Matt. Go ahead, Steve.
Patrick, you talk about guys, going out there, putting in the work, practice day by day in and day out. Do you feel like there's a level of, I guess, tough love that you have to have on these guys?
I don't, man. I mean, there's a difference when you want to have tough love on someone because they're not putting in the work, and when someone's putting in the work and the results haven't come. I mean, all you can do is go to practice every single day, and put your best foot forward, and continue to get better and better. And you go to the game and you give everything you have to do whatever you can to help the team. And the results kind of handle itself. I mean, the ball's not always going to bounce your way. You're not always going to win 14, 13 games every single season. It's can you stay with the process every single day and put your team in the best position to succeed? And then let's see what happens. And so we're still first place in the AFC West. We got to win one more game to win the division. We understand it's not going to be easy, but if we continue to work and put everything we have out there on the football field, and we're able to win this game and get into the playoffs, I think we can go out there and do what we want to do at the beginning of the season, and that's trying to find a way to get to the Super Bowl. But that's going to take a great day of practice today and a great week of football this week.
Matt, one thing that this team has been so good at over the years has been once you hit December, you seem to find that extra gear to go into and to get in the playoff mode. This is the first time you really haven't had that. Is there any takeaway, anything you've learned since the beginning of the month as far as just kind of maybe why that hasn't happened this year, what you need to do?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think the guys are still putting in the same amount of work. We've had the same schedule that we've always had. We've practiced hard. Just haven't came out with the wins. I mean, so at the end of the day, all you can do is continue to get better and better. We still have belief in this locker room. I'll continue to say it. But we got to go out there and prove it. And I think that's something that the guys are real willing to accept that challenge and do.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. There goes. Well, Chris Jones.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs quarterback. We also heard from Andy Reid. We'll take a timeout and we will talk with Field Yates. But Josh, any quick takeaways from Andy or even Patrick there before we bring in Field Yates and talk with him in a few minutes? Any of the bigger takeaways from Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously it's a lot of the same topics, but I do think there's a little bit of a different tenor where you have both of them kind of at this point being like, yeah. We are frustrated. It's not quite working, and we're gonna try to find a way to turn something to take that and turn it into something positive, as opposed to pretending that they're not frustrated or not on the same page. That to me is sort of the common thread from the Kelsey podcast clip we played earlier to Mahomes and Reid today. These are guys who do have a level of frustration and think they can do something with it.
I also enjoyed hearing Patrick say I've got to read the field better.
Yep.
I got to be better reading the field better. The footwork, drifting, old habits, trying to make big plays. Throws were there that I didn't make them. I was slow in my reads to even get to open wide receivers that might have been there. MVS, not connecting with him. That's on me. He's open. I see it on tape. Talked about there's time in the pocket that was clean. He drifted. And then said, the O-line stepped up to the challenge. I challenged him on the sideline, and then I didn't do my part to answer that challenge. So there was a lot of responsibility Patrick Mahomes took on this, and this didn't come off as just your token responsibility. Hey, I've got to throw the ball a little bit shorter to MVS. I've got to throw the ball a little bit farther so it's not a pass interference. Right. This was a real, I was not good. Here are the reasons I was not good, and here's what I have to do to be better. But I've got to read the field. Footwork was bad. Drifting in the pocket. Not making the throws when they were there for some reason. Slow in my reads. Guys are open on tape. I'm just not seeing them. That's all on me.
And meanwhile, yeah, I am frustrated because I don't like losing. Why wouldn't we be frustrated? Honestly, that's something I would have been perfectly happy to hear earlier this season instead of pretending, no, we're all fine. Like, if there is anything that can be sort of inspired by any of this, you would hope it's a little bit of a reining in of that frustration to have it be a little bit of a motivator, because they are, again, we heard it from Kelsey earlier, we hear it from all these guys. That was an embarrassing performance on national television on Christmas Day with the whole nation watching right after they finished opening their presents. And if they don't want that to be the lasting memory of this version of this Chiefs team, they're going to have to do something about it.
Especially when, you have pictures out there of kids opening up, or the meme of kids opening up a present of a ticket to the Raiders game and crying. No. There's probably a number of people like, hey, Merry Christmas, we're going to the Chiefs and Raiders game. Yeah. And then that happens. Damn it, Chiefs, you're ruining Christmases. That's what's going on. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will talk with Field Yates and get his thoughts, typically on a Monday for Field Yates, but no Monday show with it being Christmas. We'll talk with him. Mick Schaefer will join us at 1 o'clock. We'll hear at some point from Chris Jones, we think, but we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Field Yates will join us coming up next.
If you haven't restocked yet for this holiday season,
Talking now with ESPN's Field Yates, our NFL insider, fantasy football insider as well. Field, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing okay, my friend. We're still going to find some holiday spirit despite the transgressions of about 48 hours ago that we are doing our best to move on from in a hurry.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. How was your Christmas, though? How was Monday for you and the fam?
Christmas was good. I've got two children under the age of 2, as we often talk about. So my older one, who will be 2 in less than a month now, I think is starting to pick up a little bit of what Christmas is all about. So that was fun, seeing some joy on her face. I don't think she quite understood why she was getting presents, but my daughter, in her nearly 2 years of life, has taught me one thing. She is never not in the mood for a new gift.
That is exactly right. Yeah, that's great. My kids are 8 and 4. They are perfect age right now, so we are enjoying it as much as possible. And I said yesterday, Field, I'm mad at myself that, I never want the Chiefs to play on Christmas again because I'm mad at myself. It's the first time since the Chiefs and Bengals in the AFC Championship game where a loss impacted the rest of my day. And I'm mad and disappointed in myself for that. But I was trying to figure out myself why this one was different than the other losses this year, why losing to Buffalo and Philadelphia and those losses along the way, and Denver as well, and Green Bay, those losses were like, move on and, enjoy the family. But for some reason, I could not kick this one. Anything you can put your finger on as to maybe, not necessarily get in my head, but I'll just ask this. Did this feel like a different type of loss from the national perspective rather than just locally watching this team, play in, play out, week in, week out?
It did, Jason, and I'll draw a parallel to like when I play a round of golf. And not that I'm any great golfer, as it were, but early in the round, if my driver is shanking, like it often does, but if I'm, hitting the ball into the other fairway, I tell myself there's time to get it corrected, right? By the turn, I will have figured out my drive. And next thing you know, I'll be making a couple of bogeys as opposed to a couple of double bogeys. Maybe even a par if I get frisky. And I think that's what's happening right now with the Chiefs is that for much of the season, when times were tough, you could say to yourself, well, they can and they will figure it out because they still have time. Time is no longer a thing here with the Chiefs because we are, from this conversation, basically 10 days away from the conclusion of the regular season, and the Chiefs will be playing a playoff game in the first week of the playoffs, which, of course, has not been a common theme for them during this 6-year run with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid as the two centerpieces of it. And I think that you and I have discussed the word inevitability many times over with the Chiefs, and it's been a thing that was a reality for them. And it just doesn't feel that way with the offense anymore because not only are there no in-house solutions for problems this late in the season, but the Chiefs' most potent weapon for the past, basically 8 years, but really during this apex of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, was Travis Kelce, who is still an all-world tight end and all everything. But the difference in Travis Kelce's impact this year does feel like it's notable on the field because while he's still one of the very best players in all of football, forever it was you have a chance, right? You're going to find a way to put up 30 points in a game, and this Chiefs offense just does not feel capable of doing that consistently as they're now down to just about 22 points a game. I did not think that would ever happen with Patrick Mahomes in the prime of his career.
Yeah, typically good teams don't play their worst game in week 15 or later. I mean, you feel like you're ramping up at a certain time. I mean, that's what the Ravens are doing right now, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I think this is we've talked about the offensive struggles and the issues and off the tick and, fixing some of the errors, correcting mistakes, things like that. They do that. They'll be fine. That's been the common theme all season long. We've joked about, Andy Reid's press conference. This is another week where he'll say, hey, we're close. We're just going to, once we fix these mistakes, it's all good. That when Patrick Mahomes plays really well, the Chiefs can score in the 20s and sometimes in the 30s. I didn't think Patrick Mahomes played all that well on Monday, and I know a decent part of it was, some of it he was running for his life, and there was some protection issues, and the Chiefs should not have to chip both tackles and help both tackles almost every single play that is debilitating for an offense to try to do some of those things. But, watching the All-22, I thought there was a number of receivers that maybe Patrick Mahomes was hesitant or the concept, something like that. This is an offense, what it looks like if Patrick Mahomes isn't playing at the top of his game, and it really can look like it's just spinning its wheels in the mud.
Yeah, it sure can. Yeah, you're right. You pinpointed a couple of things there, right? Those double chips were reflected in the fact that, well, heck, they might not even worked, right? Because Patrick had, 53 rushing yards on Sunday, and I believe was just behind Isaiah Pacheco in terms of total number of rushing attempts. That's not a formula, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes should not be scrambling 10-plus times a game because memory may have failed me here, but I don't recall a single design run on Monday, right? Maybe there was one, but not many in the way of design runs. It was all him running for his life, shades of prior games where he's been under duress way too much. And I think that's probably one of the themes that I think you've sort of highlighted a different way of saying it, is that coming into the season, amongst the themes that would have been considered dominant for the Chiefs on offense, wide receiver was not going to be one of them. We all knew that, right? I mean, it was a young, inexperienced group, untested group that had something to prove. But you'd say to yourself, well, you still have the best player on the planet with Patrick Mahomes, and you have an excellent offensive line, and it feels like all of a sudden the offensive tackles have become a real problem here, Jason. And that does not tend to be the thing that gets easier to solve in the playoffs because what's a common theme amongst many, many capable playoff teams, ability to generate pressure, some of it with edge rushers that are dominant, some of it with schemes like Baltimore that just find a way to attack you from a million different angles. So, the offense is we've reached the critical point where, if the Chiefs are going to make a deep run in the playoffs, I'm not discounting that possibility, especially given the nature of football where you play a one-game series every weekend and anything can happen. It looks to me right now like the formula is going to have to be actually not the offense being electric, but a better version of what the Denver Broncos were during their resurgence from their terrible start, right? Basically, the job on the offense was do not, under any circumstances, turn the football over, run the ball pretty well, be opportunistic in the passing game, and then play better defense and good special teams, which I know that sounds – I don't want that to sound almost like condescending towards an offense that has Patrick Mahomes at the control panels, but right now, Jason, trying to play a different style of offense doesn't seem to be working for them because it just doesn't feel like they have the horses in the passing game to make up for just their overall offensive inefficiency.
The Chiefs can still get the 2 seed. They can't get the 1 seed. There's a part of me that almost wonders if it would be better if Miami just, wins this weekend. And if Miami takes care of Baltimore on the road, then it would put the 2 seed to bed. And if the Chiefs beat the Bengals, they would essentially be almost assuredly locked into the 3 seed, which maybe at that point you just rest guys in week 18 and tell them, go take Patrick, take a mental break. Travis, I know you can't rest everybody because you only have a certain amount of players, but, even maybe playing a quarter here or there, or, I'm not sure, but just maybe get some sort of a mental rest there that week 18 because they're obviously not going to get a bye week. Yeah, that maybe it benefits this team a little bit more just to get away from it in that last week. It'd be nice if they get the 2 seed, but either way, they're going to be playing at home in wild card game number 1 in that first weekend of the NFL season. So or the NFL playoffs, they'll be playing at home. I don't know how much it would benefit them, but I'd say it's probably more likely than not they are the number 3 seed right now. Although Miami can lose to Baltimore and Buffalo over the next couple of weeks, they could be the number 2 seed, but. Field, I would rather the Chiefs be playing good football and go on the road than play a home game looking like this, because there's not a playoff team that I would go, you know what, I'm fine with that matchup right now. I don't look up and down the playoffs right now, Field, and say, you know what, I'm okay with that matchup with teams that are maybe the Colts, maybe, but Bills, Browns, Jags, Dolphins, Ravens, no thank you.
I was going to say, the problem is with the theory that you posited about potentially like sort of hoping that the 2 seed is out of reach is that if Miami wins this weekend, it probably means Buffalo's headed for the 6th seed, right? Which would mean that you'd have a first-round matchup likely with Buffalo, a team that obviously you've played in the playoffs and defeated, but obviously also recently lost to at home, of course, too. So it's interesting. Something, Jason? This is one of those where it's like you have to decide whether you want to view it through a positive or negative lens. The negative lens will be what I just said, right? Which is that, hey, you might have to face a better team in Buffalo if you get the 3 seed versus the 2 seed, in which you get obviously an inferior seed, an inferior team. Meanwhile, the 2 seed would afford you the opportunity to potentially play every game at home, and that would boost the chances of you having all home games in the playoffs. Obviously, we know the Chiefs have never, with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, played a road playoff game. A few weeks ago, you and I had a conversation, and I remember sort of talking about how, the 1 seed is still in play, but at some point the focus needs to shift from can we get the 1 seed to can this team just play better football? And I think that is where the Chiefs need to be right now, is that the seeding will be whatever it is, Jason. There's no easy path to the Super Bowl. That's just a statement of fact in the NFL. Certainly the 1 seed with a bye and a home game to make it to the conference championship is easiest, but still. The beauty of the NFL is the 1-game nature in the playoffs. So the Chiefs maybe at this point just need to be more concerned about, like, what can we do not to make shifts, not to, like, do a wholesale shift of the offense, but just, like, be incrementally better. And I know that's not exactly the most inspiring thing to hear for this offense, but right now that's got to be the focus, because every Sunday or every Monday, I should say, it feels like we've been having the same conversation, is that, like, a little better, they're still in the mix, they're still going to make the playoffs most likely, and that but is either going to be a problem that lingers into the offseason and begs questions like, are the Chiefs going to have to go make a splash play at wide receiver or use heavy draft capital to beef up that wide receiver / tight end room? Or it's going to be one which they sort of find a better formula and they make a deep playoff push in the next month or so.
What do you think, Field Yates is our guest, what do you think would benefit the Chiefs more? And I know this is probably just throwing a dart because we're not in the meeting rooms and inside the facility, but, there's a theory about the Chiefs might just be, mentally, zapped, just mentally exhausted from the 5-year run and 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. Would it benefit this team more to have a week in which week 18 they're locked into the 3 seed and they, don't have to go into the week saying it's about winning and got to win, or would it benefit this team to go into this week and next week as hey, these are playoff games, playoff mindset, like almost double down? Would that be better for this team? In baseball, when you're struggling, George Brett had the famous line, try less hard. When you're struggling, you want to actually get away from it a little bit. I don't know what would benefit this team or not. They've got a championship, pedigree. So do they need to get locked into playing playoff football, or do they need to, reset a little bit? I'm not sure. If you're guessing, what would be a bigger benefit for this Chiefs team to refocus, double down, and this is now playoff football, or win this game this Sunday and then get a little time off of letting your brain rest a little bit?
I think it's the latter. I think it's the letting the brain rest a little bit. I'm sure the Chiefs would never admit that publicly, but I do wonder if there is some fatigue. I've thought about it. I mean, again, I hate to make cross-sport analogies all the time, but the Warriors, for as great as they have been over this, call it decade-ish run, right? Like, they've had a couple of years, Jason. They had a year where they got the 5th pick in the draft. Now, the NBA has a lottery, right? But, like, they weren't a bad team. They were one of the worst teams in the NBA. And I think they probably let their foot off the gas a little bit, and some injuries obviously impacted that as well. But I just got to imagine that when you're going hard all the way until middle of February, it's going to be taxing on these players. And I get it. The NFL has the longest off season. I'm sure there are a lot of people that aren't sympathizing with guys that make millions and work in terms of being in the office like 7 months a year. I get that. I'm not naive to that dynamic. But there is a certain pressure that comes with this amount of talent and amount of success. And it's going to be one of the things that this will be a dynamic that will be discussed for as long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, because it felt like they were just this was going to become Tom Brady, Bill Belichick 2.0, right, where you just keep winning Super Bowls and Super Bowls and Super Bowls and keep appearing there. It's possible, of course, Jason, but one of the realities is that every year that you look even merely mortal is considered a dramatic disappointment. That has to be taxing as well. Long-winded way of me saying that I do think the Chiefs could use a break in Week 18 where they get settled, just sort of like accept where they are, be prepared for Week 19, whoever that's against, and just kind of think about, like, it's not the path we expected to take to get to the playoffs, but here's where we are, and let's just do our best. I know that sounds almost like Pop Warner-ish, but at some point you can't just keep asking and expecting these guys to be, at their absolute best every single week and expect that it's going to happen like that. That's just not what sports is. Just ask any team that has obviously been at the top of the mountain like the Chiefs has. It's hard to sustain success.
Field Yates is our guest. Last one for you, Field, from ESPN. The Bengals. I was a little concerned about the Bengals. I'll say this. I was less concerned about the Bengals before Monday's game. Now it's from the Chiefs' standpoint. With DJ Reader not in there, the Steelers were able to run the football. If the Chiefs can run the football, that takes a lot of pressure off of Mahomes and the receivers, et cetera. What do you make of this Cincinnati team? And is this one of those to where, get right is a different view now? It's a relative term with the Chiefs these days, but is this closer to a get right game, even though the Bengals are still playing for their playoff lives and the Chiefs are playing for the what the heck's going on, let's get it figured out before the playoffs lives?
I don't think it's a get-right game because I think Cincinnati's got some talent. I think Cincinnati offensively is extremely limited with Jake Browning at quarterback in terms of taking shots down the field. If you look at their sort of pass flow chart over the past few weeks with Jake Browning as their quarterback, it's pretty much all dink and dunk, Jason. It's let the receivers do the work, which makes sense when you have really talented wide receivers. Defensively, they are a good, capable team. We've seen this team and the Chiefs go back and forth multiple times in high-leverage moments. So I don't think Chiefs fans are taking for granted how capable this Bengals defense is. And you mentioned the Chiefs. We've been talking this entire conversation about the Chiefs and, needing to play urgently. I mean, if Cincinnati is not playing urgently on Sunday, then they're not worried about what the season actually represents. So I think the Chiefs will win this game. I don't think this is one where, if you told me that there were two outcomes, 24-21 or 31-7, I would bet a significant amount of money it's more the former than the latter.
I would too. I would too. I looked at the line. I'm like, it was 7.5. I'm like, I think I'll play some money. It's 7 now, but it opened up at 7.5, and I think it went up for a little bit to 8, and then it shot back down to 7. So, I would.
They might know something about Jamar Chase.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'd like him to play him in the Super Bowl this week, and I've got Jamar Chase, so I survived last week with, first opportunity to win a, Field, never a fantasy football championship, been playing since '94. Never, ever.
Is that right?
It's a true story. It's all luck. It's all luck. If it was skill, I'd have 30 of them.
Jason, you don't have to tell me that, right? I mean, this is half my living is this, so you don't have to tell me about the luck involved. But let's get it done, my friend. Let's get it done. Jamar Chase, play, help Jason. That's all that matters.
Let's go. It's the first time I've played in the Super Bowl or with a healthy quarterback. My quarterback's Jalen Hurts. It's the first time I've been in the Super Bowl where I've actually had a quarterback that was healthy. Last year, Jalen Hurts was injured. Jonathan Taylor was injured. I was, nothing I could do. I lost in the semifinals. But, hey, Tyreek Hill came back. I've been building through the years for this season, Field, okay? This season, and I needed health with Olave and Chase and Tyreek Hill and trades and, salary cap and everything. So let's get it done, man. Let's do it. And you're in the championship game too, right? in your dynasty?
I've got a
ESPN?
couple championship games.
Okay.
Yes, so we've got
Shocker.
a couple of fun ones here. So no, you know what, Jason, it is that you certainly do not win them all in this seat. I'll tell you that much. But it worked out well for our show because we have 2 leagues
That's
involving basically the entire cast of our show, and I'm playing
That's right.
a co-host of mine in each of them. So it's
awesome.
Will be fun. It'll be spirited, and I'll either wake up on Monday or I guess go to bed on Sunday night a happy man or a dispirited man. I'm hoping that I will be a happy man.
Yeah, you and I both. We'll see
There
what
we
happens.
go.
Field Yates
I'll
from
be thinking about
ESPN.
it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm rooting for you. Field Yates from ESPN, our guest. Field, as always, appreciate the time, sir. Enjoy the football. Look forward to our conversation next Monday. Thank you, sir.
Right back to you. Talk to you then.
Field Yates, ESPN, our NFL insider and fantasy football insider, fantasy focus, the podcast that he's talking about in a couple of different leagues. He's in the championship. And as we always discuss with Braden Gall, people care. People care about this a lot. We will take a time out. I know people care about Mick Schaefer. He's coming up in the 1 o'clock hour as we continue to roll along on this Wednesday edition. 913-912-4810. More Zone right after this at Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, I continue to tell you about my friends over at Guaranteed Foods, Tom Williams and his staff. You know, we'll be heading home soon, and there's nothing to... Insider, Fantasy Football Insider. People care about that. They really, really do. They care about your fantasy football teams. And so we talked with Field Yates, waiting for Chris Jones. We've done that the last few weeks, and so we are told that we may have timed this out perfectly, that Chris Jones is apparently en route right now to the podium. So is that right? Is he heading there right now? Is he up at the podium?
We've learned a lesson here, which is the only winners wait. It worked out perfectly, so we got Chris
All right,
Jones.
Let's head to the podium. Here's Chris Jones.
Go ahead for Chris.
Chris, it's been a tough month. Obviously, you guys lost a couple games. What's the attitude like around the building? What have you seen from your guys this week getting ready?
I think the energy is positive. I think that's important for this week to make sure everybody in positive spirits, uplifting one another, being together. And I think attention to detail, especially on individual performances.
Chris, are you feeling okay?
I'm a little under the weather. I'll be okay though.
You guys have also, obviously, did your job the other day, and you've been on some teams where offense carried the mail for the year. It's kind of more on the defense now. What's the key to making sure everyone is together on all the pages and there's no finger pointing and things like that?
I've been in this league, 8 years, and never been a part of the team that's been successful with that point fingers. I think it's more so about taking accountability, seeing what you can do better, seeing what extra 10% you can give to your game, what you can add, whether it's rest, sleep, whether it's extra film, or whether it's extracurriculum after practice, improving yourself. And then I think that it can contribute to the team being better.
Since you've been here, Chris, this team has always been so good in December when you kind of flip the switch and start getting into that postseason mode and everything. Is it anything you can put your finger on this year as far as feeling different this year? Are you surprised that when you got to December that you didn't find that high gear yet?
No, we just got to be better. We'll get there.
Chris, you talked about taking accountability. I think Travis said something about accountability as well. Who is it that's holding you all accountable?
I think we got to hold ourselves. I think the coaches can only do so much. The coaches can only call plays, right? And we got to go out there and execute at a high ability as players. So I think more so taking accountability for yourself and players holding each other accountable. Let's do a couple more.
What stands out when you watch the film and just about the defense in general from Monday night or from Monday?
What are you talking about, the Cincinnati Bengals or us?
No, your last game, just a couple days ago. What stands out about the way you guys play defensively?
The backed up drive, and you look at the end of the game, we had a opportunity to get the offense the ball back, and we didn't. And maybe we got them the ball back, we probably would have scored it. So, as we all got plays we wish we could take back. That was one of the drives we wish we could take back. The last 4 minutes of the game, we stop them there, get them to punt the ball back, pat him, go down and score. This would be a different type of feel in the locker room and here today.
Chris, you guys still have a chance to win the division. If you do so, it guarantees a home playoff game. Just what would it mean to you if you guys are able to accomplish that on Sunday?
I think that's what we strive for every year, to win a division, and whatever after that falls in place. Most importantly is winning the division. I think that's our test. That's what we're looking forward to, and it's in front of that, we got 2 games ahead of us and 2 great teams. Cincinnati Bengals are playing lights out. Ever since Joe went down, I think they're 3-1 since Joe Burrow has been out. Their quarterback has been playing lights out. So we're looking forward to the Cincinnati Bengals. We know it's going to be a tough game, and they got a heck of a team. Last one. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, there's Chris Jones, under the weather, Chris Jones, and I'm glad we talked with Field Yates before hearing from Chris Jones. So there you go, Chris Jones, very short, very sweet, not physically, but just in his press conference today, under the weather.
Under the weather, it sounded like he was under the ground.
Yeah, I mean, if he's sick, he doesn't have to be the one to come to the podium.
No, we heard from Chris Jones on Monday. Let Jim McDuffie talk. Find somebody who's not sick and who won't wait 20 minutes.
I don't understand that. Like, no, we're getting Chris. Come hell or high water, Chris Jones will talk today.
That dude has done his fair share of work on the defensive line and at the podium this year. Put a different dude up there. He's
Come
sick.
hell, high water, or hallucinations from sickness, he will be at the podium, damn it. We couldn't possibly have anybody else at the podium.
Chris Jones is this week's Mucin X Factor here for the Kansas City Chiefs. What are we doing?
I mean, I guess I would understand if it was Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes or something like that. Well, the quarterback's got to talk this week, and he's capable of talking. But so there you go. Chris Jones, everybody's in high spirits. You wouldn't be able to tell from that. But yeah, so there you go.
The vibes are great, Jason. Everybody feels great. Everybody's happy to be here every day.
You know, he's like a sort of a flip of a coin. Like, what are you going to get from Chris Jones? Because you might get high-energy Chris Jones, and he's just having fun up there and holding court. And there have been a number of times this year that we've got that Chris Jones. I'm just like,
I'm guessing the NyQuil enough to soothe the horse in his veins right now is probably not helping.
And Jalen Watson is the one that's sick.
Yeah.
Not even Chris Jones. Jalen Watson not practicing today because he's sick. Did he give it to Chris Jones? Is that right, Watson?
I think Cam Jones was sick all of last week, right? I think it was an illness for him, right? It had a
lot of people were sick from watching that performance on Monday.
Yeah, the combination of Christmas cookies and Chiefs Raiders gave me horrible indigestion.
Yeah, I didn't want to see what I ate earlier that day later on in the bathroom, but that's what happens when you watch the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Never again.
My New Year's resolution is to not watch the Chiefs lose an AFC West game in all of 2024.
I like that. I like that. It's a great New Year's resolution. Yeah. Mine is to watch the Chiefs not lose a game in 2024.
I'd love that. I certainly would sign up for
my resolution. So, I mean, I feel good about it. You know, they play the Chargers on January 7th. So, Bengals are the last game of 2023. And what a crazy year it's been. 2023, year in review for this Chiefs team. They win a Super Bowl. They beat the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. You know, they exorcised that. Patrick Mahomes almost has his ankle flipped the wrong direction because Arden Key stepped on a foot. He didn't just fall straight down. He stepped on somebody's foot, and then he fell. Because every NFL player steps on a foot and then just releases their entire body weight.
I like that character. I don't know who it is. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I like that voice. I think there are legs there.
It's the I wish there were more legs for Arden Key to keep himself up. You know, that wasn't a hip drop tackle. He stepped on a foot and then just apparently decided to pick both of his feet up in the air and hold on to Patrick Mahomes and land on his leg. Either way, so we saw that. Then the game against the Eagles and into the off season of the That's Who and the Pat Who and then the opening night where it kind of felt listless, lifeless. You saw them rip the ball from Tyreek Hill. One of the guys who they got in the trade and draft picks for Tyreek Hill rips the ball from Tyreek Hill, the difference in that game. And that felt like maybe the highlight of the season at this point. That's Brian Cook sprinting down the sideline with his knees in the upper deck, as Blaine Gabbert described it. It's kind of the high point. It's been downhill since then, specifically starting in the second half of that game. But
I think that new character you just created's name is Oliver Twisted Ankle. Oh,
Yeah.
Governor, I just stepped on a foot.
If I could only have just a wee little bit more of a balance. I didn't see a foot right there, sir. I felt a foot underneath my foot, and then I'm going to fall like a foot.
all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. By the way, big shout out to Google Fiber, missing them right now. Internet proud to be from Kansas City, now available up to 5 gigs, 1 gig internet. Same price since 2012 is Google Fiber. Internet so easy to set up and use, you may never need the award-winning customer service at all. No data caps, no annual contracts, no hidden fees. And you may need Google Fiber with all of the sporting events that are going to be going on over the next few days. If you're out and about, all you need is Sports Radio 810, that's for sure. Tonight, Texas A&M, Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl. Why don't they call that the Oklahoma Bowl? And Texas, a team from Texas isn't the only one playing in that one. I'm going to call it the Oklahoma Bowl with Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. That's right here on Sports Radio 810. Tomorrow, we've got K-State, NC State, right here on Sports Radio 810 at 4:45.
The NC Bowl.
The Arizona and Oklahoma playing in the Arizona-Oklahoma Bowl. Played at the Alamo, by the way, but it is called the Arizona Bowl for some reason. I'm not sure. On into Friday, where Mizzou, Ohio State, little Cotton Bowl activity. Saturday, KU's playing Wichita State at T-Mobile. We got that for you right here on Sports Radio 810.
The T-Mobile.
The Orange Bowl.
T-Mobile.
What did I say?
No, I'm just saying it's the T-Mobile.
Oh, well, it's a basketball game, so
yeah, it can be a bowl.
That's. You know what? It can be. You know, it sort of looks like it can be a bowl. You know, there's a lower bowl, there's upper bowl for tickets there. You can get either one if you go to Tickets for Less. You know, have some fun there. We got the Orange Bowl, another bowl. This one just happens to be painted orange and has citrus fruit in there as well. And then on Monday, Fiesta, Rose and Sugar with the national semifinals with Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl right here on Sports Radio 810. And that's the college part of it. That doesn't even include Chiefs pre- and post-game with the Dolphins and Ravens playing at noon right here on Sports Radio 810. Goodness gracious. Susan Waldman. So it's all right here, including tonight's game. You heard the whoo! And that would be the resident Oklahoma State Cowboy, Mick Schaefer, who, Mick, are you dressing for Texas A&M tonight? Are you suiting up for them? Are you on scholarship for them?
I'm actually wearing my son's gear right now because they play at the Rockets today in the Bowl.
Yes. Why isn't there a Smoke-a Bowl?
Oh, I think there is.
There are several. Do you not listen after segments?
I meant like an actually sponsored.
Oh.
I can, you know what?
Give
it
it
can
time.
also go with Pop-Tarts and Cheez-Its and Tony the Tiger.
Oh, wow, this is a great point. The Kellogg's Bowl, we looked for what the other options might be. It was apparently Pringles, but it actually should be a Smoka.
Yeah, Funyuns.
I'm in love with the Pop-Tarts Bowl, by the way. I love the trophy. I love afterward you take a bite out of the mascot for it.
Yeah.
Great trophy. Needs to be in the state of Kansas. Would feel like a win for all. I know KU fans, I know this is a big ask. I think we all need to be pulling for K-State to bring that piece of hardware home.
Here's the deal. Avery Johnson will be starting his first game, right?
Yeah.
Kansas State's the Avery Johnson area. He needs to hide somewhere in the goalpost under the padding and the standard there a knife, butter knife, and some butter. And if he's named MVP, he should go grab the butter knife and the butter and spread that butter on the Pop-Tart because it's so freaking good.
Freaking good. If you haven't had it, I think you should, for sure. Texas A&M 53 scholarship players tonight.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll need it.
Everybody is transferring out of that program, man.
Good. O-State had that exodus last year.
Yeah.
So still not. It's better this year. Not as many people leaving, but still not embracing the other end of the portal. Right, guys coming in like every quarterback in the world is there. Mike Gundy, go get one.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. A lot of quarterbacks just waiting for homes right now. Currently, in fact, a quarterback that would be starting tomorrow night is at USC right now. But Avery Johnson, get an opportunity to see him play. Looking forward to that. Did you by any chance?
Louisville's favored by 6.5 against USC. That's how bad it's gotten.
Yeah. And it might be just that USC is like, all right, to hell with this season.
Yeah,
and Caleb Williams not playing in Louisville being like, you know what? Let's not lose 3 in a row to end the season. This has been an awesome year. We were talking about maybe making the semifinals, the playoff, if we would have not lost to, Pitt, a 3-win team by 18 points. But now let's not lose 3 games in a row to end the season. Let's beat USC. Yeah. I'm with Braden Gall, though. He's like, I think betting on college bowl games is as foolish as it can get.
I'm in full agreement.
It's just like, man, because like tomorrow, or today's Wednesday, so Friday night would be where you're like, all right, one side clearly wants the game. Like Missouri side clearly wants the game against in the Cotton Bowl. I don't know if Ohio State is as motivated, but if I go and put money on Mizzou and it's like, oh, of course, Ohio State has really good backups and other guys that want to be out there, and they go and win the game. And Missouri's gone from a 6.5-point dog to a 2.5-point favorite to now a 2.5-point dog in the matter of like 3 weeks. So everybody's trying to get a read. You could have gotten 8-9 point swing there. You could have gotten one hell of a middle for that one.
And
for Mizzou.
I'm not so sure like all 100 players on every team have the same mindset about the game, right?
For sure.
I'm pretty sure it's broken up and it's divided. And I would guess that more Missouri players are in on this, are ready for it, wanting to win than Ohio State maybe. But like you said, the backups say this is their chance to step up and play and perform. And I feel like it's obviously impossible to ever measure. It's just used for excuses at the ends of games, mostly for the SEC.
Of course.
Well, they didn't want to be
here.
They didn't want to be here.
Did you, by any chance, stay up and watch the entire Guaranteed Ref Bowl last night?
So that was going at a guaranteed slow-ass rate. I can tell you that last. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so I mean, it was halftime when I did the sports at 10:20. The game started at 8. Off at 8:10. Oh my God! And you know what? That first quarter was like 35 minutes. And I'm
so
like,
long.
okay, it was quick the first quarter, and then the second.
Oh, that's
quarter,
the first half. Sorry, first half.
The first half was forever. And
Yeah.
so I actually got back to my neighborhood. I probably left at about 11 o'clock. Drove 28 minutes back to my neighborhood. Walked in to my buddy's house where he was hosting a watch party. Cracked a beer, and there was like 8 minutes left still in the game. Got to watch several possessions afterward.
Yeah.
I actually think, sorry, Jason, I was going to note
you're
that Mick and I actually watched the exact inverse amount. Mick and I watched the whole game. At
You
about
just
the
went to
8-minute mark, I fell asleep on the couch. I saw the, second
Well,
Grim
I
touchdown?
watched the entire game because I'm cutting highlights, right, and watching it at
You were,
the station.
you were work watching, though. I mean, it's a little different.
You know, for big games like that, I get all my other work done by 8 and then just kind of sit
Look at
back.
you.
Yeah.
Now, so you guys experience that. Now imagine Eastern time.
Oh,
dear God.
And foolish enough for me to stay up and watch that whole game. I'm like, it's 1
you're in
o'clock. I'm
Eastern
like,
time.
what am I doing? Why did I do that?
You were awake for the shoving match?
Yeah.
I learned about that this morning.
Yeah, that was that was a more predictable ending than the Notebook.
Oh.
Okay, that was we all knew that was coming.
Than every single Hallmark Christmas movie.
Absolutely,
Yes.
that was so. We all knew that was happening.
Dude, this should probably. You know what? I'm going to save this for Learn Funniest Best. I'm going to write it down. That got me thinking. I'm going to save it for one of my.
I'll gladly be your muse, Jason.
Writing it down.
I like that KU didn't waste the
for
last
this
possession
weekend.
in terms of trying to chase the all-time personal foul record. I don't know what it
Which
was.
was?
I
They
don't
might have
know.
got it.
But I feel like if they
might have already got it.
if they could have gotten a couple of personal fouls and maybe an ejection with no time left on the clock, that would have been a generational performance.
What kind of JV high school refereeing crew was that couldn't turn on the mic the first half?
I don't know.
And then I swear every time they heard a cuss word, I'm guessing was
It
a
had to be
personal
that,
foul.
right? It had to be.
Yeah.
Dude, a guy said something. A KU player said something to a UNLV player that got the personal foul, like you're talking about. And then, what was it, Grimm on the sideline, and then is getting up, and a UNLV player comes over and chucks him to the ground, and it's like, oh, all good. He didn't say anything to him when he pushed him to the ground, though.
Well, it took him forever
that
to
late
throw the
hit.
one flag when, like, the safeties just attacked Jason Bean on the touchdown.
It's like,
He's over the sideline. And I'm like, I don't even know if Jason Bean said anything. If he did, he would have to yell at 40 yards downfield for them to hear it as they're chasing the guy they couldn't cover. But honestly, I mean, just KU got a bad whistle, I thought, last night, and still won by 2 scores and won convincingly. And Jason Bean was Jason Bean, man, right? I mean, just like rolling, and then like I'm just gonna throw 3 picks in a row, and then come back with like 3 touchdowns. And a shout out to the local kid, Luke Grimm,
Grim.
One of the 3 Randy Mosses on the Jayhawks last night. They were just climbing ladders and just plucking high pointing balls. Arnold, Skinner, Grim. That was impressive. This was a fun KU offense these past 2 years. It's been really, really good. We'll see if it changes with the offensive coordinator change. But the creativity on offense is something I don't know that Lance Leipold gets enough credit for.
Yeah, and a big boost with Neil coming back next year,
Huge boost.
that announces that news comes out.
And well
before
done.
the
They were
game.
talking about this before the game. They're like, you know what? If he has a big game here, he might have to consider the NFL. Well, they didn't hand the ball to him, and when he did, he got like 2 yards of carry. That was it. They just threw the ball. We're just going to throw it all over the yard and make sure the NFL is not watching here. These scouts
scouts that are here. We didn't even want to give him the ball. I don't know why you would draft him.
Exactly.
We didn't even want him to have the ball in his hands. We would just rather throw jump balls to wide receivers than give it to that guy. But we think next year he's going to be really good. After next year, maybe give him a shot. Give him a real long look to see if he can come in and help your franchise.
You see Jason Bean is the last,
yes.
Right. Do we know that that's his last game? Are we sure that he is out of eligibility?
I think he's out of eligibility. There might be a secret extra year in the cushion somewhere.
First one to go for what? 425 plus.
And six touchdowns, I think.
Patrick Mahomes. And did you notice the date of Patrick Mahomes' game? Last game?
No.
Is in November. I didn't know he didn't play a bowl game last year.
Yeah, wow.
It was like November 25th.
Well, did he opt out? Did he opt out of the bowl game?
No, I don't think he did.
Oh, man. I love that you can find a year of eligibility in the couch cushions.
It's in there somewhere.
It's a great line.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere in there.
Just search around like, found a quarter. Oh, there's a year.
It's a
Found a year of eligibility.
I found 78 cents, and we have a year of eligibility for the quarterback.
I found a literal red shirt in there, and then I found a red shirt year. Found both of them right next to each other. This was awesome, and a scholarship from one of the walk-on guys. It's just right there in the couch cushion. Last night was just so weird. It was weirdly entertaining.
It was like year's KU bowl game, right?
Well, that one was just like crazy entertaining back and forth, and then it ended with some odd, weird glitch in the matrix, as I said earlier with Jason Bean. I don't know what was going on that play with where he was throwing it or what he was thinking.
To be fair, that was like their 9th 2-point conversion they had to pull out. Like, we only had 8 for this game. We thought we thought that was twice as many as we'd ever need.
We drew one up on the sideline.
Yes.
That's what it looked like, and apparently there was a miscommunication. I'm not sure. But it was so wildly entertaining from the football that was being played and the guys who were open and playmakers in space and mossing and Jason Bean with his dimes and YOLOs from time to time and the broadcast being as brutal as it was and missing plays because of replays then not replaying any of the personal foul penalties.
Penalties, nothing.
Just nothing. Here's a replay of this play. We come back and this is another play already happened.
About the personal fouls.
Yeah.
Did never really seem like, it was like, no. Instead, let's use some of our analysis time here to, I think, get KU's home games completely wrong next year, and to talk about how Neil.
Really?
I think that happened. And to talk about how Neil really should reconsider maybe going to the NFL anyway.
Yeah.
Great commentating.
Trying to talk him into going to the NFL during the game.
What are we doing?
It's really turning out, passing up a lot of money. I don't know what this guy's thinking, man. Running backs, a dime a dozen. I mean, just unbelievable. Like, it felt like a non-con ESPN Plus game.
These
and
are
it's like,
the
well, you know what you get. That was national ESPN. That was big stick ESPN.
It was big stick ESPN, and that's what we got. We're in the wheelhouse though of the bowl games of the teams that are like good enough to win 8 or 9 games, but good enough, and usually it's because their offense and their defense is bad, and so we catch those teams playing each other like last night, and it's so much fun to watch. Bad defenses and good offenses.
Let's hear again Lance Leipold. I can't get enough of this. At halftime, coming off the field, and the frustrations certainly were going on throughout the first half and on into halftime. Here's Lance Leipold with the quick halftime interview with the KU Radio Network right here on Sports Radio 810.
Good first half for the offense and defense. With the penalties, how do you get better in the second half?
I don't know if we can get a new crew or not in time. I tell you what, we have no rhythm in this thing, no whatsoever. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know what to tell my team right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
I don't know if we can get a new crew in time.
God bless him.
The penalties, man. It's so phenomenal. I mean, he was not shy about, what was going on. He went out of his way to thank the Guaranteed Rate Bowl and the people there. But, I mean, the officials had themselves. You know what? The officials were playing some YOLO football, too. and so was Jason Bean.
Well, it was
great.
I mean, some of those holds were like, you could, okay, call that every next play because that thing's happening next play. Call it the next play because that's going to happen the next play. Give me a break.
Yeah. Jason Bean was I was happy for Jason Bean because for the last 2 years there's been talk about whether or not he's going to transfer. Is he going to return? Is he going to transfer? What's he going to do? Is he going to play behind Jalen Daniels, lost starting job, whatever, filling in for this guy? And after last year's bowl game, had he transferred and went somewhere else, that would have been one of the main memories of him, unfortunately. And he's too good of a player. I mean, from a quarterback perspective, looking at Todd Reesing and then the best quarterback since Todd Reesing, Jason Bean and Jalen Daniels are the two guys that are the best since Reesing, that him coming back and helping this team get to now 9 wins and finishing it off with 456 touchdowns in a bowl game and so many phenomenal plays and things like. I'm happy that that's the way that his career ends, if it does end, unless he's got 4 more years somewhere else. Does he run for re-election? I'm not sure. He might have 4 more years somewhere. But I'm glad that his personally, specifically for him individually, that his career ended like that. KU gets a win. They go to 9 wins in year 3 for Lance Leipold. And a lot of cool stuff to take away in that game where, a lot of times when teams are been there, done that, it's like, oh, bowl game, this happened, that happened. I'm just going to go on with my day.
Yeah, they've not been there and done that very much at all. Hey, I don't know if Jason Bean's done playing football, even if he's done in college. I mean, he's a burner. I mean, people forget he was a Texas high school sprint champion, right? If you win the 100-meter dash in Texas, that's like Olympic level, and you see it on the field. He pops in these D1 games, these Big 12 games, the bowl game last night. He is clearly the fastest guy on the field. He's got the body of a receiver, man. I mean, I would not be surprised if NFL teams take a flyer on him and switch positions. It's like, in baseball, where you have the 5 tools. This guy doesn't have 4 of them, but he's got 1, and it's so good. We're going to find a spot for him. Be Billy Butler or something like that. John Kruk.
Maybe the Chiefs just bring him in just for trick plays and deep shots. Let him.
You, man,
if you're going to have
that guy can fly.
Going to snap the ball to a running back
so
anyway.
Fast.
Make it Jason Bean.
What was it? Matt Jones at Arkansas was a quarterback that got drafted as a wide receiver.
Ryan Tannehill.
There's been a lot of those
senior year to
Antoine Randall and
Julian Edelman, right?
Julian Edelman, guys that were quarterbacks in college and then wide receivers in the NFL.
Jerick McKinnon, running back.
Yeah, that's right. But I think Matt Jones was a first-round draft pick. I remember, that was one of those big storylines. It's like, he was a workout warrior and he was a quarterback in college, but he's got all these different intangibles to be a wide receiver. Ran a 4.37 at the combine and a freaking vertical jump of 40 feet. 40 inches, sorry.
Yeah.
40-foot vertical. This guy leaps buildings in a single bound.
He never took advantage of that skill.
Why not just throw the ball in the air to him every time?
Because the quarterbacks can't get it up 40 feet that high.
I mean, he was just a workout specimen, and then never actually worked out in the NFL for him. At least I don't remember it working. Maybe somebody was like, "No, he had an awesome career." I have no idea. I don't remember that being the case. But yeah, you know what? It's an interesting point. He's certainly got the athletic profile. I mean, if you're fast enough, you can at least give. I mean, Eric Crouch, got a shot at safety. Tim Tebow got a shot at from running back in college to quarterback in the NFL to tight end to a right fielder. Outfielder. So, it's a lot of different opportunities that are out there. But good for KU getting the win last night. And the stat that I loved, Mick, was going into the game, KU had committed 55 total penalties. And with 18 penalties last night, that means their season total, 25% was in last night's game.
25%.
Of their season total penalties.
More than that. 18 is more than 25% of 55.
No, 18 and 55 combined. So the entire season combined ended up being 25% just last night.
I'm there now.
You got me. Yeah, I mean, because 18 and 18 of what they've had going into it is even bigger. But I mean, the entire season done 25% in one game. So there you go. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us. Mick, did you have a good Christmas? Was it okay? Was it ruined by the Chiefs? Did you just move on and open up another bottle of whiskey, like some more bourbon for you? What was Christmas like for you?
Christmas was great. There was the whiskey was involved. The Chiefs were involved, and I made sure I took the day off. I'm like, I don't care if the Chiefs are playing. You're not going to ruin it for me, Chiefs. So the other three on our sports staff, they worked. I was off back in my hometown. And no, we just started watching movies after the Chiefs game. It was great.
For you guys.
A little Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Kids hadn't seen that.
A great Christmas movie.
Great Christmas movie. The other great Christmas movie, A Naked Gun.
Yep.
They'd not seen that one. Cocaine Bear. We watched that.
I love that, the holiday classic.
That is a great movie.
Yeah.
It successfully makes
Polar
fun of itself. And the entire movie, and it's so gory, and it's very, very funny.
It is pretty funny.
A couple others, yeah. So no, they did not ruin the my Christmas whatsoever.
How is Meth Hamster? I'm meaning to check out Meth Hamster.
What is that?
It's the sequel to Cocaine Bear.
Is it for real?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a funny little
werewolf.
Weed Wolf. Weed Wolf is actually
and honestly,
my burner Twitter
I was
account.
the only one on this show that got the picks right for the Dolphins game, the Chiefs game.
You were.
So Monday, I'm like, well, I'm just going to cheer for my picks. I'll have to cheer for the Chiefs.
You didn't get the Ravens 49ers right.
Did we pick that one?
Yeah, we all picked 49ers.
Yeah. Well,
that's right. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
If we do a ZOU on that, I'm still winning.
We did not.
It's a push.
I'm glad we didn't. We certainly did not do a ZOU on that one. You know what's so you remember the guy that was doing the TikToks with like the Costco worker?
Yeah.
Was like, I'm not gonna. Good. You want me? What do you think I care if you're ever gonna return here? And it's less work for me, lady. Go right ahead and leave. Oh, you want to talk to my manager? Great, I do too. That guy that was on TikTok, he's in Cocaine Bear. Do you recognize him?
Oh
wow.
The like the delivery driver guy or whatever that shows up to the cabin at that part when the bear's kind of going crazy there. You go watch it again with your friends around holiday, certainly.
The delivery driver.
He was like, he was like the Uber driver or whatever. And then when they were in the cabin together with that older lady, you know that scene.
Okay, that's him, huh?
I don't know if you caught Jason what Mick said there, which was that whiskey was involved and the Chiefs game was involved.
Good call. Good call. Well done.
I honestly am impressed
Touché.
you remembered it was a bear.
I remembered. I mean, Kerry Russell was in it. I loved that, and the guy from Modern Family was in it. After that, I was like, yeah. Oh, and it's Ray Liotta's last film. So.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Oh. They even had they dedicated to him at the end.
That's nice. Yeah. I'm sure he would have appreciated that stamp in his career.
Another thing, I highly recommend. We went to see Iron Claw on Friday.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to watch.
About the Von Erich family.
Yeah.
It is an amazing movie, amazing cast, it's so well done. It is a punch in the gut over and over again. If you know anything about that family, it is nonstop punch in the gut.
Well, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go see it.
If you appreciate
hey, honey, you
good
want to
movie
be
making,
punched in the gut over and over and over again?
Zac Efron doesn't look like Zac Efron anymore. So.
Oh, really?
No.
What does he look like? Somebody from...
He looks like a roided-out wrestler, and he broke his jaw, and so he's had reconstructive jaw surgery, so face even looks very different.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So, looking forward to that one. That's great.
I might.
Take the kids to that one.
I don't remember the guy's real name, but the actor from The Bear.
Yeah, he's in it, and
is
he's
that the one he's
amazing
in?
it. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, I may go see it just for him. I'm becoming a fan of his just from The Bear.
And then Maura Turney is in it. The wife from Liar Liar, and she's in ER. Well, I thought it was funny because in Liar Liar she was in a movie about the claw. Here comes the claw. Here comes, and this is the iron
scared of the claw.
And this is the iron claw.
You're scared of the claw. That's right. You're scared of the claw. Mick Schaefer's never been scared of the claw. I'm not sure. Maybe White Claw. I don't know. I'm probably not scared of that either. I don't think so. We will take a time out. Come back. Learn funniest best. We got like 5 days worth of learning and funniesting and besting. We'll do that on the other side of the break. 913-912-4810. Rolling along on this Wednesday edition of the show. It's Sports Radio 810 WHB. Yes, it is time for the parade in Pasadena. Tradition meets college football action in one epic bowl game, and with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can make every play count. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5 on college football. And a huge game with the Nat. A little learned funniest best. It is presented by Pyramid Roofing. For a free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. Go around the room what we learned from the weekend/weekend days, what the best was, and what the funniest was from the multiple days that we all were out. So there's a lot that we all may end up having with these. I'll just go with I think I'm gonna save that one for best. The one I was talking about that I wrote down with
you can have these conversations in your head
I don't want to.
beforehand.
Why would I want to do that? Man. I think I'm going to go with this one. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio.
Oh, good start.
Watching the Ravens and 49ers game. And he said all week that the 49ers were just going to destroy the Ravens. I mean, it was just going to be like a bloodshed. It was going to be absurd.
Okay.
So he tweets out.
Sacrifice.
Yes, that's right. He tweets out during the game, Ravens guard Kevin Zeitler. Says, Kevin Zeitler is often bobbing up and down like a whack-a-mole at the snap. How is that not a false start? Sarah Zeitler, Kevin's wife, says, if you've never heard of a silent count at this point, I can't help you. And I learned that Mike Florio doesn't know what a silent count is, why a guard is the one that's touching the hip and then pointing his hand, and then they go on the silent count. That Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, still learning what a silent count is and saying, Kevin Zeitler is false starting every time he's moving his arm. And his wife had to let him know that that's
pretty
a
good
silent count there, guy. Josh, what did you learn?
I learned something that I want to make sure everyone else knows as well. I know that the Chiefs game left a bad taste in some folks' mouth. I understand it wasn't all that you were hoping for it to be. But, guys, I learned that the Chiefs had a big win on Christmas Day. The score is whatever, but they won where it matters. 34-25, time of possession champions. 34 minutes and 18 seconds to 25 minutes and 42 seconds. Go get the 1 seed, Chiefs. Go get the 1 seed.
Take that, advanced analytics, with your adjusted score based on all these different numbers. Yeah,
what was your Pythagorean time of possession theorem, huh?
That's what
More like pathetic-ium.
That's why I was wanting the defense to let them score really quickly at the end so the Chiefs could get the ball back and run out the clock with the ball and increase their TOP lead.
Yep, absolutely. And then you increase the voting so you can move up in the polls so you can get a better bowl game.
That's it.
Just want to win. Just want to dominate there. The time of possession, which is also why I don't subscribe to the Chiefs defense was just really tired there at the end, and that's why they
what is that
got run over.
What is that?
It was the 47th play they faced.
Yes, that was that's just like this low hanging. Well, we got to say this to defend the defense. No, and you knew they were going to run. That was disappointing.
Very, very disappointing. They played an awesome game, but they didn't come through at that point. They were put out there a lot to try to come through, but they weren't.
Were they? I mean, how many possessions did each side have? It had to be less than 10.
The Chiefs' offense had a lot of possessions because they kept ending them.
It was 10 and 11. I looked up. It was 10 and 11. 11 for the Chiefs. 10
I think
for
and that's counting
Raiders.
the Raiders getting the ball at the end of the half. That barely,
yes. That counts as one.
They all count, man. Every one of them. Mick, what'd you learn?
I learned that Luke Perry's son is rest in peace. Luke Perry is a professional wrestler. Jack Perry. Wow. He goes by the ring name Jungle Boy or Jack Perry.
Not Dylan.
Does not go by Dylan.
Okay.
Be a good one though. What's Dylan's last name?
Wasn't that his name in the? Wasn't that his name in
90210?
90210.
Got a real Tarzan-y vibe here I'm seeing. I mean, Jungle Boy I get now.
Yeah.
I think this might be an older picture I'm seeing, but
gone by Jack Perry. Makes sense. His name. Johnny Drake, Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Nate Coy.
Did you learn that from the Iron Claw?
No, but the rabbit hole we went down after the Ryan Club, there was an offshoot.
So
there was an offshoot, and we picked up that information. I'm like, well, okay, that's a little learned.
So it's pretty much everybody that when you watch a movie that's like based on a true story, when the movie's over, then you start Wikipedia and you start just going from different, this person over there, that person over there. Oh, really? Now I'm going to learn about these people after I've watched the movie and the recreation of what was based somewhat on their lives.
And then you're like, wait a second, this is nothing like it. And actually what really happened is more interesting than what the movie did.
hold on. The alien wasn't that size in the movie. It was much smaller.
Wait, hold
Spaceballs is exaggerating a lot of things.
World
That's
War
not
II,
how it happened.
World War II did not end like it did in Inglourious Bastards. Hold on a second. Yes, I'm
what I have read about E.T. is that is he never phoned home.
No.
He didn't. That is, I understand why they say based on a true story. Oh, and he did come from Uranus. Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I learned we see a lot of Mahomes stats where he's the first quarterback to ever, but I thought this one was kind of cool. There's only 2 quarterbacks after 76 games who have the exact same record of 57 and 19. Do you know who those 2 are?
I'm guessing one's Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Oh, they're tied with 2?
Oh.
The 2
because he's played 90-some
history
games.
only have the same record.
I'm going to
There's
say
only
Kurt
2.
Warner's up there.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Give me the record again.
57 and 19 after 76
How about Tom
games.
Brady?
There you go. There's one.
And Ben Roethlisberger.
He played on Monday night.
Lamar.
There you go.
Wow.
So Lamar
wow.
Jackson and Tom Brady had the exact same record after 76 games.
You know why it's the same? Because they don't, for whatever reason, include a playoff numbers.
I could feel the hatering
at all
coming there. Like I
hate
saw that. I was like, oh, there's gonna be a thing
well,
about
and
playoff.
that's not really hating on Lamar Jackson. It's just hating on well, we're just gonna exclude the most important games of these guys' careers. We're not gonna put their
Those don't
stats.
count. Those stats
Those
don't
don't
matter.
count. Those wins don't count. Those losses don't count. Anyway,
That's pretty good stuff, though. It wasn't Brock Purdy though.
Not yet.
Lamar Jackson now the favorite, minus 160 to be the MVP, 2-time MVP before Burrow and Josh Allen get one. Could be Lamar Jackson, depending on what happens this weekend. Noon, Ravens, Dolphins. Let's go to funniest. Josh, you lead us off here. What was the funniest from the last number of days?
I lots of funny things happened, but I think the funniest thing happened earlier today because Chris Mad Dog Russo is making an absolute meal out of First Take, and he had a little commentary.
Is that a compliment or is that making a meal out of it? It's a good thing. Okay,
Well,
good.
yeah, he's eating up the scenery, and I will say in this case it's a compliment because Mad Dog he had a little bit of self-handicapping to do about his gambling weekend.
An absolute disaster. So on the day after Christmas, I don't learn my lesson on Christmas Eve, and I bet the Chiefs, by the way, on Christmas Day. Another sin. And I don't learn my lesson. And the fat guy says, "Let's go Rice on the money line at 5:30 on a Monday afternoon." I am a degenerate and a loser. I deserve to lose every penny. What an awful, 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 awful job. Not again. Strike me down.
God again, strike me down.
That's
Mad
a meal.
Dog,
That's
dude.
a meal. He made a meal there.
He made a meal out of it.
You are right about that.
That was
You're
Texas
right about
State's
that.
best performance I had seen since Kathy Ireland kicked the field goal to tie Kansas in necessary roughness.
Jason Bateman was so good in that movie. I mean,
And the guy who was in Quantum Leap was a hell of a quarterback.
Yes. That's right.
Scott
God, what's his
Bakula?
name? Scott Bakula. Yeah, he was in that Sinbad.
Sinbad. It's another
And I can't- who-
great movie.
I can't remember the guy that played Big Manu Maliona. The Samoan guy.
Yeah, I don't know his name either.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, I didn't think we'd be referencing Necessary Roughness today.
Because
But I
back
appreciate
then
that
there
we
was
did.
no Texas State. They were like, we're gonna
No.
make up a school, and then like life imitated art.
Yeah, and then the flat top guy from Texas.
Yes,
the
yes.
one that was just a stereotypical meathead linebacker.
Yep.
That's right. The funniest for you, Mick.
The funniest for me was we can laugh about this now, right? Because nothing happened of it. But Isaiah Pacheco went to the sideline with a concussion. He's got a concussion, and everything in the world is going wrong for the Chiefs. And so he goes to sit on a trainer's table, and he's 200 pounds, which is light compared to the rest of his coworkers. He goes to sit on the trainer's table, and it collapses like a tent,
Like a Bills tailgate.
like he was jumping from a bus at a Bills tailgate, and he didn't hit his head, didn't get worse, and he just sat there like, okay, this is how today's going.
That was my favorite part of it. The moment of concussed
He's like,
acceptance there,
okay.
just like fine.
He doesn't get mad,
No.
right? He's not laughing about it. He's just like, well, this is how I've accepted it. This is how my Christmas is going to go.
It's like one of those beds that can fold up or whatever. It's you got the different bases that are there, and it can fold up from the waist
It's like a
and
house
the
of
knees.
cards.
You're just laying there, like, well, guess I'll just hang out right here. Like even the things on the sideline were folding for the Chiefs.
What happened there? Do you think like a big guy jumped on it and then just kind of jostled something loose? Maybe some screws popped out or something like that. Or they broke the platform. I don't know.
I mean,
was he the first one in? I don't think he was.
I wonder if does that happen often under the tent? Like when they put the tent up and then the guy sits on the table, nobody ever sees.
We just have these crappy tables. It's not because we're hiding the injuries. We were hiding these crappy tables. We don't want to be embarrassed.
Guys, Donovan Smith went in there for a neck
Yeah.
injury, and he came out with a broken arm? What?
I think it was Donovan Smith who plopped his butt down there at 300 pounds.
Turns out the arm was probably broken all along. They just didn't know it.
Yeah.
No, the table broke, and that's when he fell off. Oh, he fell off the table. All right. Yeah, unbelievable.
The only
that happened.
only bad part about that is we got only like a little 5-second clip of that. I wanted to see longer.
Me too.
What
How long did he
happened
sit
after
there?
that? Yeah, how long did he sit there?
Yeah, right.
And when the trainers came up, did he just kind of give him a just kind of palms the air, like what's going on here? I don't know. What are we doing
just
here?
like
Look,
more like almost a Heisman. Like I'm good. I'm just gonna chill right here. I know you guys
Good
got to
here.
look at me, but this is comfortable. I know I'm not going back in the game, nor do I maybe even want to. I'm not sure. I got to fix my helmet. Why it keeps falling off, I don't know.
I feel like he's maybe not strapping that puppy up right, or at all.
Yeah, probably. I don't, or at least not tight enough.
Yeah,
you know,
it's twice.
Yeah, Dylan, what was the funniest for you from the weekend?
The funniest for me was the newest addition into a long, long catalog of quotes from the great Jair Alexander. I'm sure everyone is just seeing this come across their
Seen it.
timelines now. This is coming from a man, and we can't even put this at the top of his list because there's just so many, and it should be. Here is him explaining why he deserves to be on the coin toss.
So were you supposed to be a captain? Because the team announces the 3 game captains, and you were the 4th, and you called the toss. What happened there?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's only suiting, I don't think Coach knew I was from Charlotte, so.
So you just did that on your own?
I mean, it was like the guys backed me up, so they knew I was from here.
Did you realize you almost made a big mistake on the call, though?
What'd I do?
Well, you said we want to go on defense.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, they could have said, then you're electing to kick off, which you would have lost the opportunity then to receive in the second half.
Yeah, no, I told them that. I said I want our defense to be out there, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, it's pretty simple what I said. Like I want the defense to be out there. They like, you mean defer? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Sure.
Did he say that to you?
Yeah, he did.
The mic was on.
Oh, what? Yeah,
he heard you.
Oh, really? No, he was just like, defer? I was like, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. Everybody was laughing. I'm like, what y'all laughing at? Like, it's pretty obvious what I'm asking for.
No, yeah.
So did anyone say anything to you when you got back to the sideline?
Why would they?
So this is also the same gentleman who
I didn't know this happened.
Referred to Stephon Diggs as a little boy after he was starting a fight in the tunnel and then proceeded to give up 108 yards on 6 passes and a touchdown to him. So
To said little
and
boy.
That is why I couldn't even put it at the top of the list yet before I go back and defer to reviewing all the film with his many, many press conferences. Basically, he's also the guy that had the big hat on, talking a bunch of bleep on Justin Jefferson before the game as well. So he has a lot.
He still doesn't understand what he did. And I've seen that. I've seen it. If you say if we want to play on defense, I was like, okay.
But he wasn't even a captain.
You haven't deferred.
He wasn't even a captain. He just went out there because he's from Charlotte.
Talking? Why are they letting him talk out there?
He just went out there and
just went out there on his own and then started talking, and now he's been suspended.
Usually there's a designated guy out
there.
there.
There were 3 other Packers there who were like one of us, but he took the lead, and none of them boxed him out, I guess. It's incredible.
He's been suspended now.
Yeah,
for a
he
game.
has.
So the Packers have suspended him 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team, crashing the coin toss.
Unbelievable.
It's unreal, man. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious what I wanted to do. I want our defense out there. So you want to kick? Well, I want to kick off. That's obvious. So you want to kick or defer? What is this question? How are you guys not getting this? Am I taking crazy pills here? Am I the only one that doesn't understand? I want our defense out there.
Wow. Was he the cornerback that said he picked up on Mahomes' sign on the interception or something like that?
Was
somebody else.
He didn't end up playing in the game. Yeah. Alexander, that was one of the things about, like, you lost to the Packers and Jair Alexander didn't even play. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. That could be an ominous sign moving forward. Don't worry, it wasn't. Narrative says it was.
It was worse than ominous. Is there a word for that?
Alexander didn't play, but Jack Jones did against the Chiefs for the Raiders. So I don't care. I've got 3 funniest. So this is what we're doing.
Look at the clock, Jason.
This is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing here. Okay. Raiders game. Speaking of Jack Jones, after the pick 6, the little scuffle that was going on, and
go ahead.
Don't interrupt him. It's going to take. We're already.
Yeah, come on. Did you see Rashee Rice pick up his mouthpiece and toss it into the stands? And then Jack Jones did not have a mouthpiece, so Antonio Pierce had to call a timeout. On defense to get him a mouthpiece. I thought that was pretty funny.
That rules.
Because he was so mad, he was like pointing over at him, like, and he's like, I need a mouthpiece. So Pierce had to call timeout for him to get one because Rice chucked it. One of the other funniest that are family part of it. So we're playing the card game. What do you meme? With the kids.
Good one.
And my father-in-law explains to my son that sometimes if they read your card or whatever, you might laugh. To sort of like, new phone who dis, or, laugh that, make it sound like, oh, that's really funny. And so he goes, so the first time he did this, they're going through the cards, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, over the corner, my son goes, ha, 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 and he's looking around. Nobody's laughing. A little more subtle there, buddy. A little more subtle there. He just starts going crazy. And then the one I thought of earlier was my wife and sister-in-law going through their favorite Hallmark movies, explaining the plot of the different Hallmark movies. And wife's like, oh, no, this one's so good. So she's engaged, right? And they get signed up for these ballroom dancing classes, but then they break up before it happens. But her best friend convinces her to still take the ballroom dancing classes. And the guy that's the instructor, they find out they have so many things in common, all these serendipitous moments and everything. And I'm like, oh, my God, what happened? She got back together with the ex-fiance. No, she married the dance instructor. My God, did M. Night Shyamalan direct that? That is out of nowhere. I cannot. Let me guess. A good-looking white male, good-looking white female.
Shockingly,
again.
And the cover art is one of them wearing green and one of them is wearing red. Just out of curiosity, is he wearing a green
he's
sweater?
He's wearing plaid because he cuts down Christmas trees to give to the homeless.
That's true for sure.
Exactly
Jason,
right,
there's
yes.
no way that the boyfriend came back and made a difficult decision for the girl, did he?
No chance. No chance.
Must have. Oh, A Sweet Christmas. It is my favorite one. Oh my God, the Christmas card. That's my. Oh, have you seen A Kiss Before Christmas? Oh my God, it's so good. It's one of my favorites all time. It is unbelievable. Oh, Christmas Comes Twice. That's so good. How about A Christmas Melody? Oh, I'm just reading off Hallmark movies. Those are all the names of Hallmark movies. I don't know. All right, best for you, Mick, from the weekend.
The best for me, my brother always has some of the best wrapping jobs / worst wrapping jobs for Christmas. He got me a new he got me a new shacket, which I didn't know that was a
Love
term.
a shacket.
I'm wearing it right now, shacket. And so
It's a good shacket. I like the shacket.
His wrapping job was on a hanger, and he measured out wrapping paper the length of the shacket, and he put it over the hanger and then hung the hanger on my parents' dropped ceiling in the basement. And so, of course, the front is just wrapping paper. The back you can see. So I looked around back and said, no, don't look back there. Just look at the front. It's gorgeous. I'm like, you're right. It's a great wrapping. I had never seen that before, so he did it himself.
The picture is phenomenal of that. It's so great. Dylan, what was the best?
The best for me is Joe Flacco being second place for an award that he didn't even want in the Comeback Player of the Year award. He is now plus 400 behind the heavy favorite DeMar Hamlin, who has not moved all season.
Along with that, do you know that Joe Flacco has thrown for 300 yards 3 consecutive games for the first time in his career?
And is Hamlin active every game?
No, he's been active
Most
a few
of the games.
times.
Yeah, he was active over the weekend.
Did he steal Mahomes' powers by donning the 15 in Cleveland? He's just like,
who's the best quarterback wearing 15 in football right now?
This is like 18 again, or Freaky Friday.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, you've seen those movies.
Or a Wish for Christmas. Remember that one with the Hallmark movie with the guy and the girl? and they make a wish, and then things happen, and they end up getting married or something like in their hometown. It's weird. It's a really good one. You should check it out. It's one of my favorites. It's totally different than the others. My best is obviously just Christmas with the kids opening presents and what Santa got them, and my son was pumped. Loved the weekend. Like, this is the best Christmas ever. I'm like, oh, you're welcome, buddy. Santa also says you're welcome. Awesome. Love it, man. Love it. Josh, what was yours?
I'll give you a double dog feature here. The combo of the Niners-Ravens halftime corgi race, just slow-mo watching corgis collide while trying to run from point A to point B is fantastic. And then also a video tweeted out by Brandon Zinner on Monday of a dog that is allegedly the Hunt family's dog, taking a big pooperooski at the 44-yard line after the game in playing territory. It's on the other side of the sideline, right at the 44. Not the only member of the Chiefs to drop a deuce on the field, but maybe the cutest. Yeah,
2 feet in bounds.
We'll say it was
four paws in bounds.
Yeah, inbounds. Zinner's gone viral on that.
Has he really? Good.
He
Good.
put Wichita on the map.
Good.
Nice.
I think it's on maps already, but
That's right.
Only Wichita.
sure.
Only
Let's go.
Cedric County maps. Only Wichita maps.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's Kelsey finally got on a map this year. A lot of things ending up on maps this year around Arrowhead Stadium. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the show with Mick Shaver coming up next.
today, so I've got the
All
Eastern
good.
time zone. I'm at Illinois right now.
Oh, I see that.
They took his apron.
But,
his chef's jacket is gone.
Sean Payton has benched Russell Wilson. Jarrett Stidham is now the starting quarterback in Denver the last 2 weeks.
I mean, have you seen a list of players starting at quarterback in the NFL? Dude, and now we're just going to add Jarrett Stidham. This is, I mean, honestly, the best thing is that Patrick Mahomes is still upright and standing.
But isn't it crazy that in a year when there's been like 70 different starting quarterbacks, the Chiefs' offense is the one that's like, what's wrong?
Yes.
Their offense is really bad. Joe Flacco,
Wait,
he's so much fun to watch.
Are you saying Blaine Gabbert? You're saying Blaine Gabbert. You're saying it, aren't you?
No, I'm saying Brady Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Let somebody cook. It's no longer Russ's time.